Hello everybody, welcome back to yet another daily cooking stream. I hope you're all having a beautiful Friday, or whenever it is you're actually watching it. You might be playing this back at some point. Hello, hello, hello. I see that we have a lot of lovely faces in chat. We have Duolingo has my family. We have October's brain. I see that we also have Jack. We have Moonlit Toxicity, the one and only. Welcome in everybody. It's good to see you all. Hope you're all having a beautiful day today. We're going to have a nice chill, cozy stream, nothing that's too new. We're going to be doing a variation of something that we've made in the past. We'll talk a little bit about that in just a moment's time. And also, when this, I think this is a good time to bring this up now. We will not actually have a stream this Sunday. I will be taking a day off. So this is your last chance to catch Dara until Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Just wanted to give you all the heads up and encourage you all to stay, especially today. Jack, thank you. I like my outfit too. I like wearing cutoffs in a kitchen. It makes me feel really mobile. Even if you have like another chance to burn yourself accidentally in a kitchen, I really like the extra mobility that this gives me. And, aha, I have an excuse to show off my Gengar tattoo, don't I? Just looks really nice that way. But yes, everybody, I hope you're all having an excellent Friday today. Hope you're all having an excellent day today. I'm pretty excited about what we will make today. So, we're going to talk about it. We're going to be doing two things. We're going to be doing a dirty rice, and we'll also be doing a red beans. Red bean, singular? I don't know. We'll be doing red beans and rice, but not just any red beans and rice. We're doing red beans and dirty rice, and specifically, we're doing a chorizo red bean, and we're doing a chorizo dirty rice. So let's talk a little bit about both of these dishes. These are both foods that kind of originate, maybe not originate, but that the ones that people really heavily associate with New Orleans. I was talking with a friend the other day, and I thought about some New Orleans food, and I was like, God damn it, I want some dirty rice, I want some beans. I love rice and beans to death. But what makes dirty rice dirty, in a way, is the presence of meat in it, right? It's not just a long grain rice that's cooked. It is going to be filled, in this case, with chorizo, because I don't have andouille sausage near me. And I was like, fuck it. I think that'll be an interesting sort of spin on it. So this is not by any means a traditional dirty rice. We're not using the chicken giblets. We're not using the, the andouille that would sometimes be present as well. We're just doing it with chorizo. And we'll be having also featured a very important element in all New Orleans and all Cajun and all Creole cooking. Okay, my friends, this is the most important thing. You need to look at this right now. What's a good way to show this off? Like this? Maybe like this? Okay. This is the most important component of any Cajun or Creole dish, and this is known as the trinity. In French cooking, you have the carrots, the onions, and the celery, and then in Cajun and Creole cooking, you have the celery, the onion, or also scallion, and the green bell pepper. Okay, and you might be asking me, why this combination of things? Well, it's actually purely contextual. That's why. These are the tastes and flavors. This is the aromatic base that is present in so many different dishes that it really makes something taste distinctly Cajun or Creole. There's a really, really huge misconception when it comes to Cajun food. And people think, oh, it has to be filled with spices, and then they throw in a fucking, half a container of a Cajun seasoning mix. That is not what makes something Cajun. In fact, it's a fairly minimalistic ingredient-based type of cooking that really focuses on a lot of meat and focusing on your aromatic base. But those ingredients are absolutely essential to making something taste from this area, right? It's the presence of the green bell pepper, the onion, and the celery all together at once. So that will be present in both of the dishes. They'll be present in both the rice and in the beans. And in fact, they're going to share a million of the same ingredients. Additionally, we have a bunch of chorizo here. Now, this chorizo, unfortunately, kind of sucks. This chorizo is not the one that I would normally get. I have a nice little Mexican grocery store near me where they have this locally made fresh chorizo. I walked in today and they didn't have any. And then I went to the supermarket, I bought this, and then I cooked one up and it kind of sucked. This kind of sucked. This was not a good chorizo. So we're gonna have to amp it up with some other spices and stuff. We're gonna have to give this a lot of love because this chorizo, it's not gonna carry its own weight, unfortunately, in all of this. Now, we have these small red beans. These aren't red kidney beans. These are just regular small red beans, frijoles rojos pequeños, okay? We have those, and then also a pretty important component is gonna be sage in both of these. Ground sage, in addition to all of the other aromatics, is really going to give it the sort of oomph and the scent, the quality that we're looking for. So, we have a lot to do today. Let's talk about the order of operations. First step, we're going to do the beans in the pressure cooker. Okay, we're gonna do the beans in the pressure cooker. Guys, I talk about this all the time. I'm so glad that I have another opportunity to talk about beans on stream. I despise canned beans. I'm going to tell you why. First of all, it's a lot more wasteful. It comes in a metal container or whatever. You're basically paying twice as much for a product that really isn't all that difficult to make on your own. Canned beans, you're just paying for water weight. You're paying for additional water weight that you really don't have to. You save a lot of money by just doing things out of dried beans themselves, and they store a lot easier in your pantry. And then if you cook up too big of a batch at once, guess what? Pop it in the freezer. That's my biggest recommendation to you. Guys, start cooking with dried beans, especially if you have a pressure cooker available to you. Pressure cookers make making beans so much easier. They make it infinitely times easier. I'm going to show you guys exactly how to do that. So we have to make the beans. We have to cook up the base for it, which is going to be the vegetables that we talked about. It's going to be the chorizo, and it's going to be a bunch of hot sauce in there as well. Also, hello, actual garbage. Lovely to have you. Thank you, Salam. That's very sweet of you. So we have a lot going on here today. And then the doogadu rice is going to have a bunch of the same components sauteed. Let's get started. The most important thing, we have to get the beans out of the way and cooking. Okay? So let's begin, my friends. Let's head to the stove really quickly. I already have a pot of water set up. And here's your general ratio that you have to remember. 2 quarts of water to 1 pound of beans. For anything that you're doing in a pressure cooker. And the actual quantity of water is pretty important when it comes to, you know, holding the pressure and it getting cooked in time. Okay, so 2 quarts of water to 1 pound of dried beans. So let's do that now. I already have the water in there all measured out. It's not like too tight of a ratio, but you can definitely play around with it a little bit. But if it seems too soupy, don't worry, we're going to reduce that liquid. The number one thing that people forget, the bean cooking liquid is essential. The bean cooking liquid is what actually reduces and makes everything really nice and thick. I hate more than anything all of these recipes, especially for something like a chili where they say, oh, drain and rinse your can of beans. That bean cooking liquid, to me, you can't go without it. When it reduces down, it's going to make the whole thing so thick and saucy without needing to mash any of the beans in place. So let's get started. Into this pot, I'm just going to pour in an entire pound of beans. All of it going in now. We're not soaking, we're not doing anything crazy. And that's why it's really nice to do them in a pressure cooker as well. Also, hello to Saame. Chorizo is indeed a godsend, absolutely. Okay, next, we'll do some aromatics. We're going to do some bay leaves. Okay, the bay leaves, they smell like bay leaves. It's kind of difficult to explain them. Really like herbaceous, almost like a cold, very slight mintiness to them. We're going to do 3 bay leaves. Okay, just plop them in. Next up, we are actually going to amp this up with some chicken bouillon powder that I know I have. Aha, I found it. My apologies for getting in the camera. I realized I didn't take this out of my spice cabinet beforehand. Okay, hi. So, a little bit of chicken bouillon. Normally, I would only do beans in a chicken broth. I would only do beans in like a pork broth. I would have some sort of really nice meaty component in there. Alas, I don't have any this time. So we're gonna compensate with a nice heaping spoon of the chicken bouillon, okay? It's my favorite. Maybe a little bit more than that. And remember, we're going to reduce a lot of that liquid, so we don't know how salty it's going to be. We're not adding any salt at this stage. We're only gonna add salt when we make the red beans and rice. Okay, I can get rid of this canister. I have no use for it at the moment. And now, we gotta talk about the other stuff. Who let Dara cook? Me. That's who. Okay, let's head to my cutting board. So, we're going to have a couple of vegetable scraps that I would love to throw in to the pressure cooker. This is a very, very nice way to use them up and get some more flavor out of it. No, we are not making chili today. Also, welcome to the stream. This is not chili, we're making some red beans to serve alongside some dirty rice. So, you see these celery tops? Well, theoretically you can saute them and stuff. I don't really love the texture of them, but what they're pretty good for is something like this. So these celery tops, we're gonna go ahead and throw them in. They're gonna add a very nice, celery quality. They're going to give it a little bit more flavor as it cooks, and we don't necessarily have to throw away these or waste them, okay? So let's toss these bad boys in. Almost like we're building a stock, right? We're trying to build a lot of flavor in that pot. Let's get this out as well, okay? Throw that inside. Next, these are scallions that I washed up. And guess what? We can also throw in the whites of the scallions as well. You can throw in the whites of the scallions. Is there a particular pressure cooker that I recommend? Yes, I think I have the Instant Pot Pro. And the reason I like it is because the pot has handles and it's a very simple design. I really, really do not recommend a lot of the fancier pressure. Okay, everybody, I need to go on a rant for a second. Home appliances are shit, especially cooking appliances. Home cooking appliances are one of the most evil things imaginable. They sell you plastic controls with a million different settings that you will never need on them. Whenever I'm shopping for a home kitchen appliance of some kind, the thing I'm looking for is this a model that can be used in a, let's say in a commercial setting? Those are usually better, they're constructed better, and more importantly, they don't have a million useless features on it. Blenders are maybe one of the most egregious examples of this. How many blenders have you actually seen have all those stupid little buttons on it, smoothie mode, and all these different settings that you never use? It's just a waste. You want a button to pulse, you want a button to blend, and you want something to adjust speed. That's it. Whenever you're shopping for kitchen products, always look for minimalism, is my biggest advice to you. Minimalism and commercial models of something, if it's not too expensive. Okay, so the whites of the scallions, they're not gonna go to waste either. We're gonna cut these off, and we're also gonna throw them right into the pot, and they're gonna add a very nice oniony flavor. But chef, what if I want a salsa mode? I'm sorry, Death Owl, it's just not gonna happen. Okay, so let's take a look. Let's reiterate everything that just went inside. We have the bottoms of the scallions because those are going to be thrown away. We have the tops of the celery because those are going to be thrown away. And they're going to make it really nice and aromatic. Then we also put in some chicken bouillon. We added some bay leaves, and then we of course added the beans. Let's mix all of this up, even though it's not completely necessary to do so. I just want to make sure we don't have any pockets of seasoning on the edges of the pot. And remember, 1 pound of beans to 2 quarts of water. 1 pound of beans to 2 quarts of water. Okay. And now we got to talk about the times. So, as for the timing of everything, here's my recommendation. We're going to do high pressure for 40 minutes. High pressure for 40 minutes. Okay? And then we're going to do a natural pressure release. That means we're not immediately opening up the gasket. We're just letting it slowly cool down because we want soft and creamy beans. I don't want hard, firm beans. It's not a salad. I want soft, creamy beans. So, let me go ahead and set that up right now in my pressure cooker. Filled with scallions, beautiful. Pressure cook. "40 minutes. That's all you're gonna need, my friends. Get it on there and it'll do the job. Ugh. Okay. We don't have a pressure cooker cam. So, Jack says, question chef, can you use white beans for that recipe? Yes. The only thing you need to keep in mind, so this ratio that I told you, 1 pound of beans to 2 quarts of water, should apply to every single type of bean. It's going to always be too liquidy because then you're going to take it out and you're going to reduce all the liquid and make a beautiful sauce out of it. But can you use white beans? Yes. The time might be a little bit different though. I'm doing 40 minutes natural pressure release because I feel like it's going to be fine, and I think that's what I used before for these kinds of beans in the past. But every single kind of bean is going to take a little bit longer than another. So you're going to have to be a little bit mindful of that. My one recommendation though, resist the urge to immediately release the pressure. Natural pressure release is where it's at. Okay? That's how you get those really soft, tender, creamy beans all the way through. And then we're going to reduce that cooking liquid and make a sauce. So that's going now. We have to talk about everything else. We have to make the vegetable base. We have to make the trinity. And we're going to do something exciting. We're going to do something that's actually not very traditional at all. This is something that you might see me do for my salsas, where I take a vegetable and I put it under the broiler to intentionally burn it. And we do that so that we get a really nice charred, smoky flavor. And I think that's what I want to do with my bell peppers today. So this is not traditional. Typically you just chop it up and then fry it off in some fat or maybe in a roux. We're going to char it, we're going to burn it intentionally, and we're going to get a little extra smoky flavor if possible into the whole dish. So here's what's going to happen for that. First step, we're going to set the broiler onto high, and we're going to heat it up a little bit. Although broilers don't typically need preheating, this is mostly so that like the top of the oven can get really nice and hot for it. Okay, next we have to set up a sheet tray for this bad boy. So, sheet tray is right here. We're gonna put some foil on it just to make my life a little bit easier down the line. And then after we char it, we're gonna burn the skin. We're not just gonna toast it, we're not just gonna roast it. We're going to intentionally burn that skin, my friends. Okay. Foil going down. Okay, that's nicely set up. Again, this is just for my own ease. This is not necessary at all. Also, thank you so much to Inflation is High for the Prime sub. Luckily, not so high that you couldn't give me the Prime sub. Welcome on in. So, sheet tray is all set up, my friends. Let me glove up because I have eczema and I would like to protect my hands as much as possible when I slice things. I'm going to show you what we do. I'm going to show you all how to prep a bell pepper. Okay, I have a question. This might apply to some of you. How many of you, also, whoa, Dara the Explorer, thank you so much. Oh my God, it's so weird having my own name subscribe to me. Thank you. So everybody, I'm gonna show you something. I'm gonna teach you something right now. How many of you have struggled to open up a bell pepper? How many of you have taken a knife and then like went around it like this, or just try to rip this out and rip the seeds out? How many times has that happened to you? I'm gonna show you a very nice, efficient way of getting everything out of the bell pepper, okay? This is something that a lot of you may know. This is something that a lot of you may know and are going to be familiar and comfortable with, but this is for those of you that don't know. This is sort of the prep kitchen way. So, you're gonna take this, you're gonna slice the top of this off, just so that it doesn't get in the way. Watch this. We put it on like this. So, the white part of the bell pepper always runs alongside the folds. You see these folds? You see these folds? You see these folds? And what we want to do is, if we were to slice it like this, we would be able to shave off the meat of the bell pepper without actually getting any of the white part in it. Okay? So you see the fold? We're slicing perpendicular to it, and then we're shaving off the bell pepper as we go down. We take the fold, we see the fold, and we just slice it just like this. And then we keep all of that white part inside. In fact, this side didn't even have it at all. That's fascinating. And then, I don't want to waste that. Pop that over there. Look at this. Beautiful. And now, you have nicely shaven sides. We're not going to chop this up right now. I'm actually just going to put this onto the sheet tray because I want to intentionally broil it. Okay? So, let's get this out of here. We're going to put that onto the sheet tray. Let's do this again. Just like this. One. Next side. Oh, that time I kind of messed up a little bit. This time I got a little too much of this, but that's okay. But yes, that's it. That's all it is. And guess what, my friends? We've just prepped 2 bell peppers ready to go into the broiler. The only thing I'm going to do really quickly, I'm going to just pat these dry. So the goal now is we're going to try and burn that skin. Okay? We're going to get these under the fire. A broiler is really, really nice for charring things. And it's going to help us add a little bit of extra smokiness into the entire dish. This is not traditional, but I'm just trying to mix things up a little bit. I'm trying to inject flavor and give every ingredient a lot of love where I can. Okay? So we're gonna go ahead and throw that in. We're going to burn the outside of it. And I do mean burn it. I don't mean lightly toast it. I don't mean, lightly fry it. I mean burn the shit out of it. Does everybody understand? For everybody that's new here, it is customary to say yes, chef. So, is that clear? Oh my God, my voice cracked. Oh no. Any ability that I had to actually be like menacing or like authoritative in that moment, all of it is just completely out the window because of that. I feel embarrassed. Chef, need some hair clips? No, I do not need any hair clips. Thank you though. Okay, thank you. I'm glad that all of you still listen to me in spite of my little accident. Okay. Look, it's not funny. It's fine. I wanted to be mean. I wanted to be, I'm a mean chef wearing black nitrile gloves. I'm so evil. It's fine, I'm not upset. It's okay. Okay, everybody, broiling safety number 1. You need to understand something. That is not an oven. That is a super hot oven of fire on the top. You know what happens when you have a super hot oven like that? Things can catch on fire. You're not stepping out of the kitchen when you have the broiler on. You're not really worried about the air temperature, so don't be afraid to open the oven and take a little peek at what's inside and see how it's going. You can do all of that. That is all totally possible. So welcome in, Cristobal. Hope you're having a lovely day today. Okay? You gotta go in there, you gotta take a little peek sometimes. Do not walk away. This is an important kitchen safety tip. Okay? Things can catch on fire, it's fine, it happens. Just do not walk away from that broiler. It's not an oven, you can go in there and peek. Okay, want to make sure that everybody knows that, and I'm not liable for anybody's potential fire damage in the future. Okay, my friends, let's talk about the rest of the aromatics. So I'm wiping off my cutting board, making sure this is all staying very nice and dry, because later on this is all going to need to saute as well. Okay? So, we have a couple things here. We have some celery, and then we also have some scallions. So these are the two components of the trinity that I was talking about before. Let's start with the celery itself. I'm going to show you how we prep the celery, my friends. First step, always, what you want is a transfer bowl. Because we will be having the scallions and the bell pepper and the celery all go in at the same time, we can just combine them all into one big bowl. This is where we're going to combine everything, okay? The worst thing that I see people do is they chop something and then they carry their cutting board and they go straight to the pot. Not only is that inefficient, but it's also messy and just not a good time. It's not a good time for anybody involved. You always want to have a waste bowl on hand. This is where all of your scraps, anything that you're throwing away is going to go. And then you want what I call a transfer bowl. Always, always, always. And you can repurpose it as long as it's not contaminated with meat or something. Okay? So, next step. You gotta have one of these. I talk about this all the time. This is one of my favorite kitchen tools. This is a bench scraper. This is how we pick things up. And guess what? I'm gonna take a little peek at the bell peppers at the moment. They're looking good. They have no color on them so far. So we can begin. First step. You see this white part of the celery? I'm gonna show you something. This is especially important when it's raw, but even if you're cooking, it's a nice thing to do. You break off this part, and then you take all the fibrous bits with it. You break off the bottom part, and you take all the fibrous bits with it. That is a part of celery that gets stuck in your teeth. How many times have you eaten buffalo wings? Okay, eaten buffalo wings, and we're like, oh boy, I can't wait to bite into a little bit of celery. And then you pull it, and then it rips off into a bunch of fibers. That's why. I know it's happened to you. I know it's happened to you. You try to dip it in your blue cheese. So, here's what you do. You take it, you're going to break off a little section, and then you're going to try and rip off as many of those fibers as you can. Look, this is all the stuff that gets caught. Now, I should have actually thrown that into the stock, but that's okay. So we're going to do this with all of our celery, and we do get rid of like the white part on the bottom. That isn't all that aromatic. Okay. Excellent. I hope you all could learn something from that. Hello, Sierra. I hope you're having a beautiful day today. I am doing excellent. So let's do this to all of the celery. Break off the bottom and rip it off. And again, I should have probably thrown this into the stock, but look at all those fibers. Look how long these fibers are. They would have been so annoying in like a raw setting. In this setting, maybe it doesn't matter as much, but I still like to do it anyways, just to get into the habit of doing it, okay? I think I've cleaned all of them up now. Okay. I'm gonna quickly dry my hands off on a towel. Also, little tip, I have a little tip for all of you. Next to your cutting board, you should have a little towel where you can rest your knife on, like this. So that your knife doesn't, especially if it's like a metal table, you don't want it to kind of lie naked on the metal table. It could like scratch the knife and stuff. And it's also nice to give your knife a little wipe. So having a kitchen towel right here, I'm gonna just show you right here, is really, really nice to do. Okay, it makes it very easy to pick it up and get back going into things. That's not something I've been doing a lot, but it's something I should be doing more of. Okay, I'm gonna show everybody the bell peppers. Let's head back to the stove really quick. So again, this is why we keep an eye on things. This is exactly why we keep an eye on things. Take a look. These are the bell peppers. Take a look. Nicely charred. We're going to give them a little rotation. We're gonna give them a little rotation so that all of it can get nicely and evenly charred all the way throughout, okay? Or you could have just rotated the sheet tray, but I wanted to show you. Some of the water is oozing out, and we're getting that skin blackened. We want to burn it. We want to make it smoky, my friends. Okay, let's toss it back in. Toss it back on in. And we don't know how long it's going to take. It depends on the heat of your broiler. It depends on what tool you're using. If you don't have a broiler, you could probably do this on like a dry cast iron pan or something. It just becomes really, really annoying to clean later. So I like doing this on a sheet tray, which normally gets beat up anyways. Okay, so I want to talk about this. The size of which your pieces get cut is really important in cooking. I'm going to explain to you why. It's not just to make things pretty. The smaller something is, the faster it cooks and the more potential it has to actually break down in something. In this case, I want my celery, I want my onions, I want my bell peppers to really fully soften and break down in these 3 dishes. Okay? And that's why we're going to try and get a very, very fine cut all the way through. Okay? We're going to be really, really meticulous. We'll have to go slowly if we need to, but we want to get a tiny, fine little dice. We want this to melt in. We don't want to bite into a massive piece of bell pepper. We don't want to bite into a massive piece of celery. We just want everything to melt in. So, here's what we're going to do. First step, we're going to just square these off to all be about the same size. We're going to do a couple of these at a time. Actually, I should probably cut these in half once more. So just stack them up, cut these in half. Great. Now, we're going to take some celery, and we're just going to go along it, and we're going to get thin little teeny tiny strips. As thin as you can go. We're making a bunch of little sticks. Also, Dakota, thank you so much for did you sub for 3 months in advance? That's very sweet of you. Thank you so much. So my friends, thin little batons, and then we will turn these into cubes. A lot of people I see, they just chop celery like this. No, in this case, we want the tiniest pieces imaginable. Going all the way through it. And you might be asking me, Dario, why aren't we grating these? If you want it so fine, why don't we just put it in a blender? I'm going to explain to you exactly why. Yes, that will melt into something better than anything else. However, the difference is, if you were to blend it or if you were to just grate it, you could never actually properly roast it. You could never get any color, you can't get any caramelization on it that way. And the reason for that is because it releases so much water so quickly that it's just going to boil. By dicing it finely, we still give it a little bit of time to build up color when it hits the pan, so it doesn't become wet mush immediately, but it is able to soften up really, really nicely. So that is the importance of cutting things the way that we do and why we're not doing this in a food processor grater. Okay, I can use my nose and I can smell that bell pepper going. We're going to check on it one more time. I have a feeling that we could probably pull this out now, and guess what? We sure can. Look at that skin, nicely blackened and blistered on the outside. Now some people, they will take the skin off. I don't like doing that. I don't think you have to, okay? But that is exactly what it should look like, and now it's gonna cool down. And once it cools down, we're going to chop this up into super tiny pieces as well. And now the fact that we burnt it intentionally, it got really, really nice and smoky. Some people peel it off. I don't like peeling it off personally. It just intensifies the smokiness. Now, as for if that's safe or not, something about carcinogens, I don't know. And truthfully, I don't care. I hope that answers that question if anybody has it. Okay, let's head back over here. Thin. All the way through, my friends. Okay, we're trying to get a bunch of little tiny sticks that will then become little teeny tiny cubes. And I'm wondering, should I do both onions and scallion? I might just do only scallions because I do want to get rid of them. Okay. It is delicious. You're absolutely right, Jack. And it is that kind of chard that you see all the time in Mexican cooking, and this is, you know, in a way a bit of a fusion because we're doing chorizo and not andouille. This is not a traditional red beans and rice by any means, but we're going to make it delicious anyways. We're just borrowing a lot of techniques and concepts. And the thing that is going to make it taste innately Cajun is just going to be the presence of the trinity, the presence of the garlic. Okay? So we're continuing to work on the trinity. We're getting all of this celery chopped up. Half of this is going to go through the rice. Half of this is going to go through the red beans. Well, actually, maybe a little bit more than half through the beans. Did I turn my boiler off? I did. Welcome on in, Kaze6. Hope you're having a good day today. Again, thin little strips, okay? We're gonna do the same exact thing to the bell pepper once it cools down enough. Okay, and these are just some scrap pieces that I have actually that's not my bowl. That's my bowl where the finished product is gonna go. Again, always have a waste bowl and always have a transfer bowl. So, let's bunch up all the celery. We're gonna have to do this in 2 piles. Don't try to tackle all of this at once. Pile it up. And we're gonna get a very nice, small, fine dice, my friends. Okay? Pile it up. Stack up your strips. Fine dice. We want this to effectively melt in. Slice, slice, slice. Be patient. Don't rush this. Okay? If you cut these pieces too big, it's not going to flavor anything because you're just going to get bites of vegetables. You want them so fine that it melts into everything else. Shove those aside. Getting it done, my friends. And by the way, if anybody at any point has any questions, any comments, any concerns, anything they want to say to me at all. What about the other ones? Oh, I'll show those off in a second. I have quite a few tattoos on my body now. And it's only going to get more and more. I love having tattoos. I love it. They are, in many ways, essential to my gender expression, right? Because I'm just slowly becoming more and more comfortable in my body as I go along. Okay, look at this. Super, super teeny tiny, fine dice on the celery. Scrape it up using the bench scraper. Scrape it all up. Let's do the others. Bunch it up. Let's get this bench scraper out of here now. Be nice and patient. As many iterations as something like this takes. In fact, a bench scraper will allow us to scrape it up like this and stack it up nicely. Perfect. This Gengar tattoo, I'm going to tell you right now, Yomo, this took 7 hours, 1 day. 7 hours, 8 hours, 1 day. Pretty nice. I sat there for 7 to 8 hours. It was pretty crazy. And which one was my first? This one on my shoulder. Hello, Moonhump. Hope you're having a beautiful day today. Okay, let's gather this. Let's bunch it all up. And now we're going to, once again, finely chop up the celery. Actually, there is one more thing. Yes, 1 day, and it did hurt. It is a tattoo. Yeah, those parts of it that really, really did hurt. It's pretty brutal. Okay. And listen, I don't have a good pain tolerance either. I was suffering throughout all of that too. Okay. Once again, just gently going through the stack. We want to make sure that we're being meticulous here. We don't want to leave any pieces that are too big. Okay? And going slowly also gives us time for the beans to finish cooking. My first tattoo was only like 3 hours though. It was like 3 to 4 hours late as well. Okay. My cutting board is starting to get a little bit crowded. So what we're going to do is we're going to clean up the knife. We're going to get our bench scraper out. We're going to toss everything back into the bowl. Okay? And we've got to finish this stack. Sliding around, I'm not able to get nearly as good of a grip as I was before. But again, guys, small pieces is the key to something like this. Okay? Ah, this is so much celery. Holy shit. Okay. My stack has become a complete mess at this point. Let's try to bunch this up, and hopefully we can get this in small pieces, but it's going to be a challenge. Yeah, no, I should have done half that size, Zio. You say it's impressive. It's actually a little bit foolish of me to do that because it was kind of clunky. This was kind of clunky and not all that pretty. Okay, I have a couple more pieces to go through. Right over here. So this was actually not my best work at all. What do I use to keep my knives sharp? Ask Opal. So I get mine professionally sharpened. There's a really good knife store in New York City called Broiling, and I currently have 2 knives that I have to pick up from that shop still. So I would get mine professionally sharpened because I don't know how to use a whetstone. If you have nice knives, it's worth learning or paying somebody to do it with a whetstone. If you have cheap knives, I mean, you can learn a whetstone with a cheap knife. If you're okay with fucking up your knife a little bit, or you can use even an electronic sharpener. But the answer is, I don't keep them sharp myself. I make sure somebody else takes care of that for me. Because it's not something I'm too good at. Okay, my friends. Celery, nicely and finely chopped up. We're gonna get that into the big bowl. And once we're done with the scallions, guess what? The bell peppers will be ready to go as well. Okay? So everything just works out timing-wise. We're taking advantage of this time, but we're taking advantage of this moment that we have to cool down the bell peppers and get them ready to be sliced up again. Okay? The pressure cooker is still building up pressure, and then once it starts, it's going to take 40 minutes start to finish. But yeah, pull-through sharp. Look, you can use a pull-through sharpener if you have a shitty knife. Also, welcome in, Dara. Hope you're having a good day today. You can do that if you don't have a great knife. If you have a really nice knife, I do not recommend that at all. I heavily advise against that. Okay, so green onion. Here's what we're going to do. Some scallions. We're going to slice the whites off from the greens. The whites are going to go in now. The greens, we're going to do some garnishing later. Okay, because the greens are pretty. Although you could cook with greens. They just tend to burn a little bit easier. They don't tend to hold up to the cooking nearly as well. Okay? So, slice these off. And I'm wondering, is this actually enough onion for me? Or am I going to do also one more plain old onion? I love the white part too. And all of this is going to go inside a beautiful trinity, right? So the bell peppers are currently cooling off. Once that's cooled off, it's going to get mixed in. Okay, I'm looking at this now, and I'm inclined to do half an onion. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to get a little ridiculous with this. We're going to slice the scallion first like this, and then we're going to slice it in half again. Okay? Again, I want tiny pieces of everything. I want tiny pieces of scallion too. This is the one that you don't really have to do. You could just slice it really thinly, but this is like an extra precaution for me. And I also have fun slicing things. So, go crazy. Okay. Yeah, I'm still working on that scallion emote. It's going to be so good. Guys, I can't wait to get a scallion emote that's like a 3-part emote, and then you can make as long scallions as you want. Yes, yeah. So pull-throughs, not only are they like kind of bad, and it's like very little stone, so they get actually kind of dull quickly, but pull-through sharpeners, they might have the wrong angle for your knife, because knives can be beveled a little bit differently. There's a lot of standardization, but then there's also knives that don't have that standardization, and so the angle that they do it at might not even be good for your knife. So pull-through sharpeners, they don't last very long. And the angle might just be the wrong one for your knife. You kind of have to get lucky to find one that works with you. Because let's say you have a 17-degree bevel versus a 15-degree. If you're putting a 15-degree sharpener, right, on a 17-degree bevel, you're actually probably going to do more harm than good, is my understanding of how that works physically. Okay, look at this big old pile of scallions. Looks a lot like our celery. Now, am I going to be as silly as before and chop this all up in one stack? Yeah, we're going to do this in one stack, because why not? Okay. No, what am I doing? I am being ridiculous. Also, Candy Flips, thank you so much for the sub. I hope you're having a beautiful day today. Okay, we're doing this in 2 stacks. Candy Flips, welcome on in. Thank you, thank you. All right, my friends, let's bunch this all up. We're not going to get silly. We're not going to get silly at all. And now, nice, thin slices all the way through. We want the scallions to melt. We want it to give its flavor in. Yeah, no silliness. I wanna make my life easier, okay? Is that so wrong? Yeah, I think we'll do half an onion. Maybe a whole onion as well. General rule of cooking is also you can't really have too many onions. Right? Can't have too many onions. Onions make the world go round. Can't have too many onions, you can't have too many scallions. None of that. But I'm also looking at the volume of this. Yeah, we're gonna need half an onion to compensate. Okay, we are almost done with this first stack. Okay, and again, it's pretty crazy to go scallions like this. You don't have to cut them into quarters the way that I did, but I think it's a nice addition. Right? They'll all melt in, especially the onions. The onions are the ones that break down the easiest. I feel like the celery and the bell peppers, they don't do that nearly as easily. But the onions, they will definitely soften. So don't you worry about that. Okay, there's one bunch of scallion whites going into the celery now. Let's go ahead and stack up the next batch. Okay, and now we'll slice them yet again. Ah, still a fairly big stack, all things considered. And I am crying a little bit because we are doing some finely ass sliced scallions. Getting all of this done now. And so half of the chorizo is going to be used for the dirty rice, and half of it is going to be used for the red beans. Why isn't the pressure cooker sealing yet? Why is it taking so long? What is going on with it? What is its problem today? The pressure cooker still hasn't built up pressure inside yet. It always takes so long to do so, and I always get nervous about it. Okay. Break these pieces up. I see I still have like 2 fairly big pieces left. Okay, that should be good enough. Yeah, it's on. We constantly have issues with the pressure cooker. I should really look at what is causing it to be that way. But I hear it boiling inside, so it's definitely heating up. It's just not sealing. Okay, scallions. You know what? I'm looking at this amount. These are the scallions, these are the celery. I think that should be enough. The ratio doesn't matter too much, by the way. There is no golden ratio. You just do like 1 of each or something, and it'll be fine. It's not the kind of a thing in cooking that you have to go too crazy with. Okay. People say, oh, this is the perfect amount of this and that. Guys, it's gonna cook down. You're gonna lose a lot of it. It's gonna actually just be fine. Okay? Very few things in cooking are actually exact ratios in recipes. The thing about building the pressure with like the 2 quarts of water to a pound of beans, that's a little bit more exact, but even that's something you can play around with. You have to know in cooking when it matters and when it doesn't matter to really, really think about something like that. Okay, next, the bell peppers, I bet they've cooled down. Guess what? They've officially cooled down. Now, we could peel that skin off, but I'm not about that. So, let's go ahead and transfer these over. Now, this is a problem that we have sometimes, don't worry. So we're keeping that skin on. Why? Because I want some of that smoky flavor going inside of all of this. Okay? Beautiful. Those are the charred bell peppers, my friends. Yeah, I think it might be. I think it might be. That might be the case, but it's okay. Thinly slice these. Thinly slice your charred, your roasted bell peppers here. Okay? We're going to do the same exact thing that we've done before. And remember, they're not roasted. They're not soft all the way through. They're basically raw in the middle. Only the top of it is just charred and burnt. Okay? And you want to keep your stacks nice and preserved so we can easily slice it up later. Could probably do multiple at a time. Make my life a little easier here. Okay. It's a little slippery because it is somewhat cooked, right? And it's like a little wet, but we got the job done. And again, guys, this is not traditional what I did here with the bell peppers, but I think it's going to be an excellent touch. I think it's going to add a really, really nice level of complexity and smokiness that would otherwise not be present. Because we don't have any like smoked ham hocks going into the beans, right? It's just extra flavor. We're giving it a lot of extra love here. Although, I'm looking at this and I do kind of wish, you know, it's funny. A bell pepper like this almost looks like a pickle. It almost looks like a slice of pickle. Interesting. Yeah, cooked bell pepper, cooked like cactus, they all kind of look like that. Okay. Perfect. And now, my friends, let's go ahead and grab them one stack at a time and slice them up. Teeny tiny thin little cubes. We gave them a bit of a head start cooking wise, but the skins especially, you want to make sure that you don't have any big pieces of skin, especially that charred skin. It can get really, really papery in there. Okay? So this is where you have to be very, very precise. Okay? No long pieces of skin will go uncut. Get a cup of coffee before this. You want to be careful. You want to take your time. You want to have fun with it. Get some caffeine in you. Also, thank you so much, Moonha, for the sub. Really, really appreciate it. Time flies so fast. Wow. Already 4 months. Have I been doing the cooking streams for 4 months? Guys, I have a question. When did you all start watching the cooking streams? When was everybody's like first Daramgar cooking stream? You do need some coffee? Yes, you do. Skin job. Also welcome in. This is the kind of thing that's best with a little stimulant in you. I think about a month ago, Zio, Jack 2 weeks ago. I know Dakota, one of the toxicity, has been here since the beginning, basically. About a week ago. Very nice. We have a lot of new people in. Moonha and Dakota are like some of the oldest. Alright, look at all these bell peppers. Nicely sliced up. Yes, you have been here for the start of the cooking streams. Now, I have some people that have been here for quite a long time, but you know what? That makes me quite glad. I'm glad that we have so many new people coming in. Whoa, very cool. Glad to be here, Chef. Well, Pomplite, I'm really glad to have you. We have so many new people. It makes me really happy. Yes, get a cup of coffee, or in my case, a little Vyvanse. Because I have ADHD. I have ADHD. Whew. The police were knocking down my door for a second. Open up. I promise you, it was prescribed to me. Okay. The beans still haven't built up pressure, which is a little annoying at this point, considering we've been streaming for basically an hour and they're taking this long to get to where they need to be. I see. Before they went to BCX, I understand. And by the way, everybody, as a heads up, I won't be doing the stream this Sunday. I'll be taking a day off because I really need a day off. But the next time, I'll be back on Wednesday. Okay? So, don't miss me too much. Okay. Seems like the pressure cooker has finally built up pressure. So 40 minutes from now, the beans will be done. We might not have time for the natural pressure release. It might be a little too firm, but that's okay. So, everybody, pay attention. We have some little bits of skin here that are kind of too big and too dry for us to actually put into this comfortably. So I'm going to get rid of those. Again, you really want to pay attention. You really want to make sure we don't have massive bits of skin. We're going to pick through it all. It looks good. Okay? Let's go ahead and scrape all of this up. Yeah, no, Julia Childs was apparently like plastered every single time. So fucking funny. Okay, and guess what? Look at this. Wet, sticky cutting board. Let's say we need it for something else. Really nice and easy. We can just scrape stuff off of it. Look at that. Perfect. This is how you keep your station really nice and clean. You're basically squeegeeing off any excess liquid without always necessarily needing to use a paper towel. Okay? Bench scraper carries. A bench scraper has done so much for me. I can't even put it into words. This one's a little difficult to get through, but that's okay. Okay, and now we'll get a paper towel to wipe it off. Oh, we cooked while drunk on stream once. That was an experience. All right, really quickly before I swap out these gloves, let's mix up this mirepoix. Celery, scallion, bell pepper. The bell pepper we charred. We cut everything up into really tiny cubes. We mince this all as finely as it can go so that this basically melts into each of the dishes that we have today. Okay? Just mix this up evenly. We're going to use this for both the rice and the beans. So we want to make sure this is evenly incorporated. This is the base of all of our flavor for today, my friends. This is the most important component, basically. Okay, it's not the chorizo, it's this, it's the base. That's where it's gonna be at. All right, I'm gonna get a paper towel to finish wiping this off. I'm gonna do that while you guys are just looking at me. You don't have to see me clean my station. Okay, so yeah, it turns out we didn't really need any more onion or anything, but that's okay. It was on my birthday. Yes, and that's because I think I have an alcohol allergy. I've never been like too good at drinking or anything. I would usually like feel sick after, but I also, yeah, one glass has a very pronounced effect on me. I got quite tipsy. I wasn't drunk by any means, but I got quite tipsy and I was like, whoa. I didn't think I'd ever be streaming while tipsy before. It's pretty funny. Okay. My friends, we just got some good prep work out of the way and done skis. Let's have a little recap. We're making dirty rice and chorizo red beans. In the moment, we have currently going in a pressure cooker the red beans that will then be reduced and added alongside a beautiful trinity of celery, bell pepper, onion. Don't worry about that. We put some bell peppers under the broiler. We charred the skin. We burnt it so that we got it really, really nice and smoky. Okay, we got it really nice and smoky. That is not traditional in your Cajun trinity, but it is a technique that I pick up, of course, that I get a lot of inspiration from Mexican cooking. We burn the skin intentionally, and it's going to add a really nice slight smokiness to the entire dish. Because we don't have any smoked ham hocks going in anything, this is where it's going to be. And if it's not that smoky, then so be it. It's going to give it just a nice charred flavor. So we made the trinity. The trinity, as you can see here, consists of some scallions, scallion whites specifically, a bunch of celery, and bell pepper, and we cut it up into super, super tiny cubes, teeny tiny little cubes. Okay, and the reason for this is because we wanted to basically melt into everything. But we didn't grate it, we didn't blend it, we didn't make a paste out of it because we still wanted to get color. If we were to just puree this, we put it onto a thing, it would just be wet. It would never fry that way. We want these vegetables to still fry and pick up a little bit of color and flavor. Okay, so that's why we diced it, and we diced it finely so it melts. The structure of cutting things is really important, and it's not about presentation. It serves a very functional purpose. The number one mistake that people make when it comes to thinking about French cooking is they make their shallot pieces way too big. Shallots are used all over the place in French cooking. And people, oh my God, the tragedy. I see people with these massive fucking chunks of shallots. They need to be paper thin. The whole point of the shallot is that it melts and it makes things ridiculously sweet. Same exact idea here. You want it to melt in. Okay? So, remember, the structure of these things is important. That's why you need to have a nice knife that lets you do those things. I'm going to quickly wash off my knife because this is a carbon steel knife and it has some stuff stuck to it. And I want to make sure that I'm keeping this nice and clean. Otherwise, it can rust. So, I'm going to need a second to do that. And then we got to make a game plan of everything else we got to do. Okay. Knife has officially been cleaned. I'm glad that it saved your life. Oh, whatever would you have done without me, Tazuraki? Also, welcome on it. Yes, well, biting into big pieces of shallots is a bit silly. It is one of the biggest mistakes that people make when it comes to thinking about French cooking or thinking about your mirepoix aromatic base. You want your aromatic base. You want your onion, celery, and bell pepper to be super fine pieces. It's what makes the sauce. Cajun cooking is not, and Creole cooking, it's not about spices all over the place. It's about understanding the structure of your ingredients and really appreciating each one for what they are, having your aromatic base, and really making the most out of your meats. Okay, there's a couple of other things that we need to do. We need to peel some garlic. We got to smash some garlic. I'm going to use my favorite tool, the garlic press. And then we got to start working on the chorizo and cooking the bases. So for the beans, I want nice coins of chorizo. And for the dirty rice, I want the chorizo to be nicely fried and distributed so that it folds into the rice nicely. We'll be doing a basmati rice because it's the only long grain rice that I've had. And we'll be intentionally cooking it with very little water so that the rice isn't mushy at all. We make the rice and basically the filling for it kind of separately. And the reason for that is because I find in my experience with pilafs, with things like dirty rice, if you were to try to do it all in the same pot, let's say you fry everything and then you put the rice in and then you cook it in there, you tend to lose some flavor that way. In a similar effect, there's an effect that happens. There's a certain effect that happens. I'm going to explain to you what it is. Have you ever put maple syrup on a pancake and then it soaks all of it up? It soaks all of it up and it only tastes like maple syrup when you have that initial bite. But by the time it soaks it all up, you're like, whoa, It just soaked it up and I don't even really taste that maple syrup. Well, it's for the same reason why a sandwich works. You're able to taste all the layers distinctly. If you were to chop it up and make it like a salad and bite it, it would be a completely different sandwich. So, making the rice separately and then adding this mix of like the sauteed chorizo, the mix of the sauteed vegetables, to me is kind of that pancake idea. We're trying to get as much flavor out of these aromatics, but we're not cooking it into the rice because it kind of disappears that way, right? So that's why that is not an effect that I think is very pleasurable. The best thing to me is when I maple syrup, I love taking a piece of pancake and then dunking it into maple syrup and eating it immediately. I will never pour syrup over my pancakes because it soaks in and I don't feel it anymore. I love feeling it on top of something, and thus we cook the rice separately, we cook the base separately, and only when it's done do we mix it together. Okay, so that is my theory there, and it is something that I've proven a couple of times with making things like pilaf in the past. Even though it technically doesn't have less flavor, it is changing the order of when you taste things. Because when you're biting into a piece of pancake that had freshly poured maple syrup on it, you're tasting the maple syrup first and then the pancake. Same thing with the rice, we're gonna taste the seasonings around the rice and then the bland rice inside itself. Okay, so that's my theory, and I've tried and tested this a couple of times before in the past. And I call this, in a way, the pancake effect, the pancake syrup effect. I don't know if this is a named effect, but what I'm saying is the layering and the timing of ingredients can be really essential in things like this. In this case, we don't want something to soak in. We really don't. So, let's get the garlic station ready to go, my friends. This is essential. We need a lot of garlic, and I do truly mean a lot. And we're gonna use my favorite tool, the garlic press, because I hate chopping garlic on a cutting board. It makes it so sticky. It makes it so uncomfortable. It is the worst. So, first step, I'm gonna glove up. You know why I'm gonna glove up? Because it's sticky, and I don't like the way it feels on my hands. I'm also gonna go ahead and put these veggies behind me. I have no use for them at the moment. Okay. So, first step, let's dump out my waste bowl. So all the trash that I do not need for today. Okay? Now, I always separate the cloves above the cutting board itself, because this is the papery skin that tends to get stuck to the cutting board. So we break up a clove, we put it there. We break up a clove. You see all this papery skin? That would have otherwise found its way onto the cutting board, which I do not want. It just makes a mess. All of this is going to go into the food today. I want a shit ton of garlic. I love garlic, and I love it in this kind of cooking especially. And again, you might be asking me the precise measurements on this. I don't know. We're making a lot of rice, we're making a lot of beans, use a lot of garlic. That's my advice to you. And now, my friends, one by one, give it a proper smash, each of them. Every single little clove to the smashing. This separates the clove from the skin. And again, I will reiterate, I hate chopping garlic on a cutting board because a garlic press just does it better, it does it quicker, and it's a lot more efficient. You have so much surface area on your chef's knife, it doesn't do that good of a job at it, and you have to make your entire cutting board sticky. It's a fucking mess every single time. Every single clove, every single last one of these guys. None of them will go unsquashed. You wish this were you. You wish I were smashing you with a bench scrape. This conversation is done. This line of dialogue is done. What kind of bench scraper is that? I have no idea. Maybe it's an OXO one? I don't actually know the brand. The brand isn't listed on it. Okay. So now, guess what? We've smashed them all. And look how easy it is to peel up every single clove. Hold it out in your hand to make sure you catch any bits of garlic that fall into your hand. And then the skin just separates, well, it should at least, fairly easily. This one had a bit of the core still attached to it, so I'm just ripping that core out. Okay? Done. Look at that. Peels right off, my friends. Peels right off. I don't know what that is. I don't know what vengeance is. Chef, what did the garlic ever do to you? Well, it came in its own skin, and I specifically requested it not to be that way. But that's okay. But I will never use Dried garlic. I'll never use pre-peeled garlic because it just comes in unnecessary plastic for me. And I'm capable and I'm able to peel it myself. And anybody else that is capable and able and physically able to do so should also be peeling their own. What could be nice to do sometimes is to peel your garlic in advance. You can take an entire head. If you cook a lot, let's say you can only do like half a head, peel up the cloves in advance. You can shake it up in a container or something, and then you can have a nice little container of garlic that you use within the week tops. I don't know who that is. Okay. This should be the last clove. Just getting the really, really dried off butts out. Oh no, there's still a couple more. Peeling all these guys up. Come on, buddy. Off you go. You have extended. You've overstayed your welcome. Okay. Garlic. Officially peeled. Well, almost actually. I said officially peeled way too soon. And I also don't love dried garlic for raw applications. It's also very difficult to control and gauge, like how strong is it. It's just a different product. I'm not a fan. Okay, my friends, guess what? All of his garlic has now officially been peeled. So, it's time to begin the pressing, the great pressing of the garlic. We are just gonna rip off any dried off bottoms that might be there. Okay, garlic, throw it into the device. Get it smashed up good. Don't worry if nothing came out. The rest of them are gonna press it all through. It looks like nothing is happening yet. Trust me, it's all here, okay? We have a lot of garlic to get through. Let's get it done. We're gonna use all of this today, my friends. All of it, every last bit of it. I think I go through garlic more than anybody else. It's pretty ridiculous. I go through like maybe like half a head every single time that I stream. Okay, last few going in now. It doesn't look like that much, but that is half a head of garlic. I use anywhere between like half a head to an entire head of garlic every single time that I stream. Okay, let's get all this garlic off now. I have no use for it. Let's make sure it's all scraped off. Great. And get anything that's left over off the cutting board. I shouldn't have actually put that back in. And now I'm gonna quickly wash this off. Because all the garlic in there is stuck like in between the holes, you want to just use like a brush or something to just poke it out. Make sure it's not there anymore, and then I'm going to go ahead and do it the favor of dropping it into the dishwasher. Okay? Okay, my friends. I have no use for this knife either. It just served a very basic function for me. Okay, let's reiterate what happened. We smashed up a bunch of garlic. All right, this is gonna go through both the red beans and the rice. We have all of the aromatic base right here. Okay, so this is the bell pepper that we charred. This is the scallion whites, and this is the celery. And now, last step, my friends, when you start thinking about the chorizo, when you start thinking about this bad boy. So, let's talk about chorizo. Let's talk about what we're gonna do here. Half of this is going to go through the rice, half of this is going to go towards the beans. In fact, these are two very similar dishes if you really think about it, but we are doing slightly different things to each of them. They're just going to taste fairly seasoned identically, but that's fine. So half of this is going to come out of its casing, half of it I'm going to leave in. I see a lot of people, they try to slice sausage that's raw in its casing. And that is not something that I like to do because it kind of smushes and gets all over the place. So the sausage that's going to be in coins, aka the sausage for the beans, we're going to seal it whole. And then once it's basically half cooked, then we'll cut it up into coins. That way we get to really preserve the structure. For the rice, we want the chorizo to be completely ground up. So, in fact, I don't think there's really anything else left to slice today. Yeah, we can just do this here now. We're gonna need two 2 bowls rather. So once again, half of this is going to get removed from the casing, and half of this is going to stay in the casing, and it's going to get sealed whole. Getting gloved up again. So, Dolingo, as my family says, Everly sofrito. So, sofrito can refer to a million different things. Are you talking about the Latin American Goya, like canned product of sofrito, which is like some tomato and then like some other vegetables in like a little paste? Is that what you're talking about? Or are you talking sofrito? Sofrito is also used as like the Italian word and the Spanish word for mirepoix, right? It's also used interchangeably when you're talking about just your basic carrots, onion, and celery. So yeah, the Goya one, yes, I have. And my answer to that is I don't love it because it's really wet. So if I ever want to saute those ingredients, because almost all those ingredients you can basically get, I don't love using it for that. Now, there is one exception. My one exception is reseguito. The reason I really like reseguito, it's the one that has culantro. Culantro is not like cilantro at all. They're kind of similar, but they're also not. Culantro is an herb that stands up really nicely to cooking. That is not an herb that I can find anywhere at all. That is an herb that I only find locally near me when it's already processed in the can of reseguito. So the only kind of sofrito that I would use would be the Goya reseguito. I hope that helps. So my friends, sausage. There ain't no way to do this. You just take it and then you get it out of the casing. We're gonna use about 4 of these sausages for the rice. Get them out of there. Squeeze it all out. Squeeze it out. There is no optimal way to do this. Just try to get as much of it out as possible. As much of it as you can humanly muster. Okay, my friends? Get it all out of here. Excellent. That's one. Next one. And again, one of these I want in coins and the other one I want ground up. I have realized how similar both of these dishes are going to taste. Normally I would like to do my red beans with, how do you say? I like doing my red beans like when I cook the stock. I really want to cook it in a stock. I really want to do it with like a really nice pork stock or like a nice smoked pork stock. I don't really have that available for me at the moment. So it doesn't work out this stream. Which I do apologize. I don't like cutting corners. I am just using what I have. This entire stream was basically inspired from the fact that I looked at my cabinet and I saw that I had those red beans and I was like, ooh, I want to do something with that. That seems like it'd be really good today. Okay, getting all this out of the casing. One last one to do. What about the chicken stock you made? I used all of that. Good question, Jack. I made all the chicken stock and then I used all of it for the meatball soup. We actually, if you remember, we didn't have any of it left over at all. Okay, come on, buddy. Out you go. You've overstayed your welcome. Out you go. Thank you very much. Okay, getting the last of the meat out. Okay, my friends. So once again, half of this is going to go towards the rice, and those 4 links are going to go towards the beans. Oh, that's just garlic. All right, let's get this out of here. In fact, actually, let's just do a little recap. Chorizo 1, chorizo 2, the vegetable base. Okay? And then we also have the stuff that's going to go, we also have the garlic. That's right, we have plenty of garlic. Okay, I think, my friends, it might be time for us to begin cooking. So, for the rice, we're going to need a big pan. For the beans, we're going to need a nice big pot. Okay? So we have to think about how we're going to make it all fit. Let's do that now. Let's head to the stove, let's think about the logistics, and let's think about the order of things. So this sheet tray, it's entirely clean. The only thing I did was I charred my bell pepper on it. Right? I don't want to have this just take up space in my dishwasher. I'm just going to throw it into the oven, deal with it later on. Now, one pan is going to be dedicated for the rice portion, and the other is going to be dedicated for the beans portion. And I think we need to actually just get started with the beans. It's all gonna go in this pot. The first step is we're gonna try to get some color on the sausages. This is a really, really nice aluminum clad pan. So we don't put too much heat on it, and we're gonna do a splash, and I do mean a splash of oil to get this started. The reason we're only doing a splash is because the chorizo is gonna have plenty of its own fat. I like using peanut oil to fry things in. A little bit. I do truly mean a little bit. And we're gonna get it to a medium heat. The goal at this stage is not to cook the chorizo through anything. The goal is purely for us to get some color in the chorizo and to cook it enough that we can then easily slice it up into coins. Okay? So while that's preheating, we can just go ahead and look at my lovely ingredients again. This is gonna be going in now. And then I'm also gonna get the pan ready for later on. I might just do, you know what? I think here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do the vegetable base for the rice after the beans come out and they're going, because it's going to take a little bit less time and it'd be nice for us to have something nice and active to do. So that other chorizo is gonna chill out for the moment. I could just get the station ready with the other pan that we'll be using today. And yeah, and the goal is we don't want to use a lot of external fat sources. We want to use as much of the fat that is naturally occurring in all of these things, right? Because this is just a very important culinary philosophy of mine. If you're cooking with pork, use lard. Right, is kind of that idea. If there is a lot of natural fat on something, try to render it out and use it. Okay, so people in chat are telling me things. Let's see what they're saying. Chef, is there something that you don't really like to eat? Asks Jack. I like to eat everything if it's done well. There isn't a single dish, even when it's done perfectly. You know what? I do have a couple of things that boil me. There's a couple of dishes that boil me. Here's an example of a dish that boils me. I have no interest in eating snails. I think snails are really bland. They're fine, but they boil me to death, is the only thing. So maybe that's my answer. There's nothing that I would never eat, but there's definitely things that boil me when it comes to the kitchen. So one thing I'm gonna quickly do, I'm gonna pat these dry just to make sure they don't start screaming and splashing everywhere. Also, what does Yomo say? Yomo says, I make my own sofrito, just blend tomatoes and basically scraps of other vegetables. Yes, that's a really good idea. The only thing is I don't love using blended vegetables all the time because sometimes I really want to try to fry them up and get some color. So, my friends, pat these dry, pat your sausages dry, and we only want a medium heat. Okay, one big mistake that people make while doing sausages, unless it's a fully cooked sausage, you never want a screaming high heat. Never, never, never. If it's a screaming high heat, it's never going to get cooked through. You're going to burn it by the time that the inside is done because it's full of spices. It's going to start ejecting its own liquid. The same thing goes, especially if you're making a really thick burger. People, they don't know how to do their heat control. Okay? All right, that is just about ready to go for me. And again, once this is done, we're going to cool it off and then we're going to slice it back up. So, sausages. Let's actually head to the stove first before we do that. Okay, a little bit of oil in there, if you remember. The pan is not screaming hot or anything. We just want to get some color. We want to firm up the sausage and we want to get some fat out of it as well. 1, 2, 3. I'm sticking my hand in there so it doesn't splash, and it's going to stick, but don't worry, it will naturally unstick as well. It will naturally unstick over time. And I'm going to save this plate because I'm going to take the sausages out after onto the same exact plate. And you might be asking me, oh, Daramgar, can somebody... Okay, I do this bit all the time when I pretend somebody has a question or something that they're complaining about. And I do this voice of them going, oh, Daramgar, I need people in chat. Can everybody in chat please type, oh, Daramgar, and make it type it like you're whining about something. I need everybody to do this for me, please, right now. Make it seem like you're complaining about something I'm gonna do. There you go, that's what I'm talking about. Good, good. Duolingo, you got the spirit of it. Great, I'm so glad. Oh, Daramgar, you all might be complaining and whining. Why are you cooking these in a pot? Shouldn't you sear things in a pan? Dude, I'm doing this all in one pot. I'm doing all of these in one pot. I'm going to cook the sausages in here and then I'm gonna cook everything else in the same exact pot. Because we get to keep the flavor of all the seared meat inside, and we don't have something else to hold. Chef White, God, I'm so glad that I got all of you to whine for me. This makes me so fucking happy, you have no idea. This brings me so much joy. Again, you hear that? You hear that noise? That pshh tells me it's too hot. It's a little too hot. And the chorizo is gonna let out a little bit of fat, but if it doesn't have enough fat, we'll throw in some more. It'll be okay. This is gonna be for the beans. Now, my friends, something really important I want you all to understand. Getting rid of your bean cooking liquid is an absolute waste. And it's not as much because of flavor, it's a little bit of flavor, but the reason why tossing away your bean cooking liquid is insane okay, is because that is the thickening power. It makes it really nice and saucy, and it can then also hold the fat in. I'm gonna explain something. Let's say you have soupy beans, wet beans. Wet beans are not a thick liquid at all. That's not reduced in the slightest. Okay, what happens then? What happens? All the fat rises to the top. It rises to the top and it's not integrated in the dish. The thicker something is, the more fat it's able to hold in there, just simply because of how viscosity and fluid dynamics work. When that bean liquid reduces, all the starches, all the proteins, they get those beans nice and saucy, and any fat that you've had in there, especially from something like the chorizo, will find its way incorporated evenly throughout. Okay, it's really beautiful stuff. It's basically magic. It's basically magic. That's how you get it saucy. Oof. That's how you get it creamy. That's how you get it special. Okay. Now, let's get a load of these guys. Let's see how they're doing on the bottom. We don't want them to get too burnt. That looks really, really good so far. Some nice color on these bad boys. Perfect. Good time to flip them. Good time to flip them. Good time to flip them. And again, we don't need to burn these. We don't need to fully cook these through. All we want to do is just get enough color that I feel comfortable, then slicing it. Okay? That's all I'm doing here. I'm just getting them cooked enough that I can slice them easily. Look at these sausages going. Beautiful color on them. God, I got a bunch of people to sound disappointed in me. This is great. I'm so happy. We don't want to burn the bottom of the pan though, because all of that is going to go back into the beans. It's going to get deglaze from the addition of the vegetables. So do be mindful of something like that. Okay? So here's what I'm considering. I'm looking at the bottom. It's looking a little bit scorched on the bottom. I think I'm going to pull these out now. Again, the entire purpose, the entire goal was just to get them cooked enough that we can slice them. So let's take these bad boys out now. We'll be able to slice them just fine, I promise. I'm going to put them back onto the same thing because they're totally raw on the inside. And we're going to let them rest until we're ready to slice. Now, into this pot, we can see how little oil is actually present in here. It's not a lot of oil, my friends. It's not a lot of oil at all. So, we need a generous amount. You know why? Because we want to fry those vegetables that we're about to put in. We want to fry the shit out of those vegetables. Generous, and I do mean generous, amount of oil. Okay? We're not just going to steam the vegetables. No. We're going to fucking fry those vegetables. It's a huge difference. Heat that oil back on up. Get it nice and hot again. And then also, by the way, I forgot to mention, I did get a new thing of salt. Guys, we're going to talk about salt really quickly. Not all kosher salt is the same. This is diamond crystal. Morton's kosher salt isn't actually the right texture. It can be a little too salty. Diamond crystal, that's what this is. That's what you want to get. It can be a little bit more expensive. Get what you can, of course, but I love the texture of it to cook with. Okay, guess what? I believe, personally, speaking from experience, that it's frying time. And I do mean fry it. I want to get color on these vegetables, my friends. So, I want a little bit more than half going into the beans, and the rest of it will go into the rice itself. So about that much for the beans. That much. We'll do nicely. And start trying to scrape up whatever is on the bottom because this, of course, has a little bit of moisture with it. But if it's unsuccessful, then so be it. Okay. So, thoughts on salt grinder? Ask Zio. Good question. I'm going to say some shit right now. I hate salt grinders. I hate salt grinders. The entire point, my friends, take a look. Take a look right now. Take a look. The entire point of kosher salt is that it is coarse enough that you're able to pick it up with your fingers and establish a feel. This is how chefs are able to just go ahead, take a pinch, throw it in, take a pinch, throw it in. I don't fuck with table salt. I don't like salt grinders. I don't like pink Himalayan salt. I think all of it is nonsense. The only salts that, to me, have any merit in a kitchen are kosher salt, or any coarse salt, rather. This is not a Reddit opinion. This is just because it's easy to pick up with your hands. Or a flaky salt, maybe something like a fleur de sel, and a flaky salt for garnishing something on top. Okay? That's your salt lesson. This is diamond crystal. This is my recommended type of kosher salt. Get whatever you can. Okay, back to the stove. So take a look. The veggies are going, my friends. They're frying in all that beautiful fat. We're going to hit it with a bunch of salt. A bunch. Okay, it's a lot of vegetables. Needs a lot of seasoning. Bunch of black pepper as well. We want to fry up that black pepper. How much? A lot. That's how much you want. We're not going to do any cayenne because this is going to have a lot of hot sauce going in. I'm going to be using Frank's Red Hot. It's my favorite hot sauce because I guess I just kind of grew up with it, but also it has a lot of really nice acidity. Frank's Red Hot is going to really balance out this dish. The acidity and the heat it's going to bring is going to be essential. The number one mistake that people make with Cajun cooking, with Creole cooking, with any, New Orleans cooking, they think it's full of all of these million different spices. They pour this Cajun, seasoning mix. And the Cajun seasoning mix, it tastes fine, but it's not what it's all about. Okay, it's about giving your ingredients a lot of love, having a good aromatic base. Okay, my friends? And we're roasting these vegetables. We're not just sauteing, we're not blanching them, we're not sweating them. You know what I hate? Let me tell you about something I hate right now. The number one mistake I see people do, the number one thing that TV chefs and shitty all recipes articles, that's right, I'm going for you all recipes. I need everybody right now to take some notes. I want to hear a yes chef. The thing that I hate most is when they say, oh, brown your vegetables in oil for 2 minutes. Sweat it down. Why did you cook it in oil? If you were to theoretically sweat down a vegetable, you've not actually built up any color, you've not built up any flavor, you could have just boiled it, you've wasted everybody's time. When I say saute these in oil, I mean saute these in oil. I mean get them nice and brown. I mean build up that flavor. Otherwise, if you want a boiled vegetable, that's fine. Just say so. But no, they say pour some oil in and then they throw in the wet fucking onions and they cook it for 1 minute and then they deglaze it with wine. And it's nonsense. You've wasted everybody's time. You could have just boiled it in everything that you've done so far. I don't believe in sweating. I truthfully do not believe in the idea of sweating down vegetables. I don't think it exists. It doesn't build up any color, it doesn't build up any flavor. It is just a glorified boiling, but to make you feel like you're doing something different. That's my opinion. That's my thought right there. The only difference, I guess, in sweating is you are getting rid of a little bit of excess liquid. That is the only thing that's happening. You are evaporating some of it, theoretically. Ugh. Makes me upset to even think about. Can't even say it. Also, I have to respond to a message really quickly. My apologies. Something a little important. Okay, let's give these vegetables a nice little stir now. We don't want them to burn after all. We just want them to build up color. And it smells beautiful. It really, really does. I'm telling you, the onions, the scallions, everything in here. Gorgeous. Okay, I apologize. I just have something, I'm doing some work for an event right now. I just have to respond to something really quickly. So I apologize for taking a second off. It is just mildly urgent. I'm not gonna put the stream on pause or anything, but okay. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Okay. Vegetables are frying. You can hear that noise, my friends. Listen to how high-end that noise is. We're going to talk about the sounds of cooking. This is an intuition that a lot of people have built up over time. But to anybody that might not be familiar, there's something important that you need to understand. When it's a little bit more low end, when the sound of something cooking is more low end, we're talking like a psh, like a psh. That tells you that water is evaporating. When you hear a pss, a high end sound, okay, I don't know if my microphone really picks up that difference, that tells you that it's frying in oil or that it's coming into contact with the pan. Okay? Also, hello Aline Dina, also hello Scrublo, hope you both are doing well. So, it's a high end noise. That tells me that it's properly frying now. Okay? That it's not just steaming away the liquid. We have to slightly turn down the heat because we're going to do some stuff and we don't want it to burn while we do things. Okay? We have to take care of a few things. Okay. Let's head to my cutting board. You're from Louisiana? Well, I'm happy to have you. So, we're keeping it low because we have to chop up the sausage now. All right, don't forget about the sausage. We had that going. It's time to chop it up into coins. We gave it a slight cook in the beginning, just so that we can get some really good browning on the outside of it. And guess what? The beans are also almost done at this stage. I don't think we'll have too much time to do a natural pressure release, but we'll see. Oh, beautiful. This really, really delicious, really flavorful, essentially a vegetable paste is what we've got going on here, you know? It's what's going to give the beans so much character. It's going to give it really something to say. Okay, and now, my friends, the sausage. Again, this is basically uncooked. Basically uncooked. We just want to cut these up into coins. Nice and thin. You don't want to bite into a massive piece of sausage. At least I don't want to. So that's why I do it in coins, just like this. And look, the fact that we pre-cooked it, it allowed the skin on the outside to tighten up enough, and it allowed some of the meat on the inside to tighten up enough that we can get clean, thin coins. I want thin coins. I want it to distribute throughout the beans. I don't just want beans with a big old piece of sausage in it. I want it to distribute and become one with the beans. Okay? It's essential to me. So, let's get this off. Gonna go get that onto the plate again. Next one. Yes, there's a lot of, maybe not music, sure. There's a lot of synchronization. I guess there's more so sound design in music than cooking. Synchronization and sound design rather than, you know, explicitly music per se. But that's just me being annoying and fucking weird about it. I'm actually do. That's what just happened. I really apologize for that, Muna. I will never actually somebody in chat again. Okay, let's get this aside for a second. And all of this is gonna get thrown into the pot alongside the gorgeous vegetables. It gets a little slippery at some point. Ah, perfect. Let's get these in here, get all the meat off of it. And it's okay. It's okay that this contaminated the cutting blade because this was the last thing that we really needed to cut up, okay? So, I'm gonna get my gloves off now. I don't mind too much, Alina. It's not that big of a concern to me. Okay. So guess what? This has been slowly going. It's been slowly roasting. And now we're gonna add the sausage back on in. Now that we've cut it up into coins, let's see if we can get any more browning out of it. And also, you hear that noise? That's the beans being done. We're gonna let them naturally release a little bit of pressure for now. Okay, the vegetables are done. Now, the sausage goes on in. All of the liquid. Don't waste any of it, not a drop. Anything that came out of the sausages goes right back on in. And we're gonna mix it around, but you don't wanna just turn this into ground meat. So we add it in, we stop, we make sure that it's just touching the bottom, and then we're gonna turn up that heat again. The goal is to build some color now. The goal is to build some flavor in doing so. I'm gonna throw that into the dishwasher. I have no use for my bench scraper anymore. It smells wonderful. I'm gonna do the cooking cliche thing. Guys, let me tell you right now, this is still essentially without spices, minus the spices that are in the chorizo. But there is so much aroma that can be extracted from the celery, from the scallions, from the bell pepper especially. When we char that bell pepper, we gave it love, my friends. We gave it some love. We gave it the proper treatment. I wish you guys could smell this. That's the cooking cliche that everybody does, right? Okay, while that's going, I'm going to quickly wash off my knife because it's filled with sausage fat at the moment. I would like it to not be. Just going to get it all off. Gonna clean up my knife, gonna clean up my tools, and I'm gonna get my cutting board out of here as well. So, we didn't mix up the sausage too roughly once we put it back in. That's because we don't want it to break up. We want it to effectively stay in coins. If we were to mix it up now, in such a delicate stage, we would get a bunch of little teeny tiny particles of ground meat, which isn't necessarily horrible, but it's not what I'm going for. It's not what I wanted. Okay? I'm gonna wipe off my knife. It's a carbon steel knife again. Does anybody have any questions? Any comments, any concerns? This is my sausage technique. If you want coins of sausage or something, I always seal it home and then I cut it up. I never cut it up first. Never, never, never. I do the same exact thing whenever I have to, like, let's say I'm doing like a braise. If I'm doing like a chuck, I don't cut it up into cubes. I first cook it in like a whole steak and then I cut it up into cubes. It allows you some time to build up color a lot easier. Okay. Now that that's cooked on that side for a second, it's starting to release a lot of its fat, a lot of its juices. We still can't be too aggressive with this until the sausage is basically fully cooked. And you hear how low end that noise is again. You hear how psh it is. Okay? That's telling us that there's a lot of liquid in there. And we're going to evaporate that liquid, so don't you worry about it. And again, none of this really applies if you're like boiling your sausages, right? But I don't really boil my sausages these days anymore. I just kind of cook it like this. Okay, I'm wiping off my surface, keeping my station nice and clean. The beans are also done. I'm giving them 1 second. And then what we need to do is we need to strain out the beans. We got to get the cooking liquid into that pot, and it has to stew and simmer away, my friends. It has to stew and simmer away. Okay, because we want that liquid to really, really reduce down. We want the vegetables to break up to be able to build the sauce for everything. Also, thank you so much for these subs, Serena Chess. Hope you're having a beautiful day today. Thank you, thank you. Welcome on in. Okay, now we can be a little bit more confident with the stirring, just to make sure it's all getting an even color on the bottom. It's still not searing particularly. We're trying to evaporate any of that moisture. We're not going to get dry sausage, don't worry. It's going to be covered in that beautiful sauce. Don't you sweat it. Have I ever done a shepherd's pie, asks Jack. And the answer is yes. The answer is yes. However, I have a fundamental issue with shepherd's pie. I'm going to explain that to you right now. Every time that I have a shepherd's pie, I'm like, you know what? The stew is good, but I would rather just be eating a really good mashed potato with that stew instead of having it all be baked together. I've never eaten a shepherd's pie once and decided I like the crispy, crust on the mashed potatoes much. It's never been my thing. So I wouldn't do a shepherd's pie. I would just do like a really beautiful mashed potato served alongside like that red wine and Worcestershire and pea stew with like that ground lamb. Oh, beautiful. I think it's one of the best things alive. But I just don't care for the crust on it. It's fine, I'll eat it. It's just not optimal. Chef, is that the Urban? Good question. Whoa, you're asking me about what series of the Mavier pan this is. Ooh, great question. I have no fucking clue. Is it the Urban? Let's go find out. I forgot what series this pan is. No, is the Urban non-stick? I don't think so, because I think the Urban line is non-stick. This is the aluminum core one. This is the one that has stainless steel on the outside, aluminum stainless steel. Mashed potatoes is a great side dish. It's a fantastic side dish. That's not even an opinion, that's just a fact at that point, right? Okay, and now my friends, we can hear how the sound of all of this is changing. We're no longer boiling. You can hear how high-end it's become yet again. Smells wonderful, smells lovely. The only seasoning that we're going to really add here, aside from the salt and pepper, of course, is going to be the addition of some sage. So, Alina the Great asks me, why does it have an aluminum core? Does that add some kind of benefit? Yes, it does. My friends, let's get into the world of expensive pans, specifically the idea of the clad pan. What does it mean if a pan is clad? That means it's not just one straight metal inside. It means that it has layered other kinds of metal. And there's different advantages and disadvantages to each kind of metal. Stainless steel is really nice because you can cook anything in it. Traditionally, if you were to think of tin or copper or aluminum pans, the issue with those is that on the outside, it wouldn't do that well with things like tomatoes, with anything too acidic, and you wouldn't be able to leave it wet. The beauty of a stainless steel is that you can leave it wet, that you can leave it soaking, and then you can cook anything inside of it. But the beauty of something like aluminum, and especially copper is just really expensive, is the conductivity and the evenness of heating. Copper and aluminum, they tend to heat quite evenly. Okay? and that really allows you to evenly distribute your heat. In my experience, a lot of really shitty aluminum pans, they tend to get hot spots on them. They tend to get hot spots quite egregiously. And the aluminum allows you to have a nice conductive layer. Guys, I promise you, you have never felt the conductivity of a clad pan if you've never used, like, it is, you'd be surprised how special it is. If you have parts of a pan that feel like they're sticking, there's a chance that there's parts of it that are hotter or colder. And having a clad pan means you have even heat distribution. It is absolutely fascinating. But yes, that's why the aluminum is inside and not on the outside, right? And we can, oh, look at all that sausage fat. Look at all of that fat. My friends, it is now officially frying in its own fat. Gorgeous. Okay, we're building up some color. We want to be careful not to burn the bottom at this stage. We're trying to build up a little bit more color. That is what I'm talking about. That is where the flavor is of a dish like this, my friends. That is where the flavor is. That is where the soul is. That is where the love is. Oh. That is why we don't just brown things for 5 minutes. Everybody, if you ever see a recipe that says saute something for 2 to 3 minutes, throw it away. It's a bullshit recipe written by somebody who's just a recipe writer in all recipes. It means nothing. You need time to build color on something. Okay, it is the relationship between heat and also time. We're not cranking. This is not on a super high heat. I want to clarify that this is on like a medium heat, but with enough time, we're able to build up the kind of color that we want. You cannot rush things like this. We evaporated the liquid, and now slowly but surely, we're building up a crust on that sausage. We're building up that browning. We're building up that beautiful, meaty, roasted flavor that's going to permeate those beans and make these beans something special. Jack asks me, have I ever been on any shows, chef? I applied to some shows, and I was on Chopped Junior when I was 13 years old. That was 8 years ago. I was on Chopped Junior. So look at this, my friends. It is frying in its own fat. Now, it's starting to get a little bit dark. This is the point where I feel comfortable adding in some of the garlic. Remember, the rest of it is going to be for the rice. This is for the beans, though. A lot of garlic. I mean generous. Fresh, beautiful, freshly pressed garlic that we did ourselves. Okay, a little bit more. The rest of that's going to be for the rice. We're going to fry that for just a moment. And we're going to take it off the heat soon. But now, we also want to give the sage a little bit of a fry as well. We're going to do in total about half a teaspoon of sage. Nice ground up sage. 1 and 2. This is the only spice, quote unquote, that we'll be really using for something like this. Once again, people mistake Cajun cooking, Creole cooking for being filled with a million different things and powders. It's not necessarily true. Oh, the sage smells lovely. The garlic, it's so festive. You get all of your sofrito. You get all of the, aromatics. It is beautiful. Okay, let's shut off the heat. There's still going to be some residual cooking happening because this was a nice and hot pan. Okay? That, my friends, is the base for these gorgeous beans. That is the base for something really, really special here. It's not just sausage. Oh, okay. Recap, everybody. What do? We pressure cooked the beans, so the beans are cooked. Now we need to reduce the liquid and strain it out because we have some solids in there. We put in some celery scraps. We charred the bell peppers. We chopped up the bell peppers, the celery, and the onion super finely. We sauteed it in some chorizo fat. We cut up the chorizo into coins. We put it back in, and now we added the sage and the garlic. We still haven't begun the dirty rice, minus the prep, but this is now officially done. This step at least. This is the base for the beans, and this is all going to cook down in the beans too. It's going to get beautiful. So I'm actually going to go ahead and set this pan aside. I don't need this immediately. First step, let's go ahead and take a look at my beautiful beans. I have to release the pressure. And it's going to reduce, we're going to reduce that bean liquid. We're going to reduce that bean liquid, and we're going to get it nice and thick. Look at this flavor. Look at this flavor. Do you understand how much this has to say? How much character this has to say? These are not just boiled beans and boiled sausage and boiled aromatics. That is properly fucking fried, my friends. That is fried, and it's going to make the best red beans you've ever had, just done traditionally with chorizo. So we're combining a little bit. This is, in my case, I'm doing a little bit of intentional fusion. I hate the word fusion, but it's more like I've taken inspiration and I've used what I've had locally. Serena Chess, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you. Hope you are able to stop by another time. Okay. Yes, it is. It's the andouille sausages, right? Or, you know, in this case, the chorizo would have a lot of the spices. Okay. The beans, we've almost finished releasing the pressure. Ideally, I would have liked to do natural pressure release, but I didn't get so lucky. I just don't have enough time to be able to pull that off at the moment. Okay, I'm gonna make sure I'm giving this one more stir to make sure there's like nothing down there that's like cooking too much or burning too much on the bottom. Beautiful. In fact, I just kind of want to steal a coin and taste that now for what it is. Beautiful. A little too intensely sage, but remember, we have an entire pot of beans coming its way. So, I'm gonna set that station up now. Excellent. And these, my friends, these are the beans. Get a lot of this guy. Still boiling, still bubbling away. Now, we have to do something to it. We have to go in there and we have to pick out the bay leaves, we have to pick out the celery, and we have to pick out the scallions. We did that so that we wouldn't waste anything. And now I'm also going to check really quickly. I'm going to make sure that it's fully cooked. We're going to get a sample bean from the bottom. I can see that none of them have burst, which is nice, but are they tender? Perfect. And don't worry about the salinity. Don't worry about the salinity at this stage because it's going to cook down and then we'll adjust the salinity. The base that we have is a little too salty, but it's going to season up the rest of the beans. And don't waste any of that liquid. I do not want to see you waste even a drop of that liquid. It would be quite ridiculous of you to do so. Okay. And then we're going to finish it with the hot sauce for that acidity and for that extra heat. Okay. Let's get some tongs, some fresh tongs here. And I'm just going to go through this and gently, without breaking the celery, just throw it on in. Without breaking the celery, gently throw it back in to my waste bowl. All of this has done its job. It's imparted a beautiful aroma. Scallion heads, excellent. More of those scallion heads. Just get them all out of here. We have no use for these, my friends. Excellent. Excellent. Bay leaves. Let's give these beans a little stir. See how they're doing. Looking good. Now the question is, do I use all these beans today? I think we do. I think we do. Give them a stir. We don't want to bite into a scallion head accidentally. That would be quite unpleasant, to say the least. I see another bay leaf. Pop it out. I think that's all the bay leaves, actually. I'm just making sure. I'm being really, really specific about this. Okay. That looks perfect. Okay, my friends. The bean boiling stage has officially now concluded. And now all we need to do is get all of them transferred on over to the pot. Now it's time for the reduction phase. So, let's see. Is it going to be a mistake if I just take the whole thing and I pour it over? Let's find out. This might be a bad idea, but we'll find out. And will it all fit is the other question. Well, we'll make it fit if it has to. Oof. Okay. My friends, look how full that pot is. That is a ridiculously full pot. Huh. That has to reduce now. I'm gonna get this pot out of here. The pressure cooking has done its job. And now, uncovered, it's gonna boil away. It's gonna boil away. We're gonna get it out of here. That's right. Okay, I'm gonna need a little assistance, probably lifting this whole thing up. And you can see all that fat rises to the surface, but it's not done cooking yet. When this gets thick, oh my God, holy shit, that is so many beans. I'm gonna just stir this around. I'm gonna scrape up whatever is there, and I'm cranking this up on the max heat. And we're going to reduce this until we build up that thick and creamy, delicious sauce, my friends. It's no joke. Okay, that's just going now. The only thing is, on this kind of a heat, you want to make sure that you're scraping it up fairly often. Because the beans on the bottom, they can kind of like seal to the bottom, they can kind of stick to the bottom, and they can just start sticking and burning. Okay, next up, here's what we're gonna do. No, that's Master Chef Junior Jack you're thinking of. And yes, even if I met Chef Ramsay, I would not like him in person either. Me meeting him in person has nothing to do with my like or dislike for him. But I have not met him, no. Okay. So, this other pan, we're gonna have nice and hot. We're going to put the chorizo that we took out of the casing in here. So, medium heat. And again, we need a little bit of oil to get this started. I don't like using external oil when I can avoid it. But in this case, it is unfortunately pretty necessary. We need enough that it, coats the bottom quite well. Okay? Now, that's where the chorizo is gonna go. And in the meantime, while that's happening, I am going to work on the rice. I'm gonna wash up the rice. So, let's see how much rice we're gonna use. Again, this is for the dirty rice. We're using a long grain rice. You can basically use whatever kind of rice that you want. Long grain rice is a traditional. And you wouldn't normally wash rice in a lot of American applications and settings, but we're doing it. Okay, we want a good amount of rice, my friends. I'm talking about this much. Quite a bit of rice. It's gonna be turned into dirty rice. Okay? A little bit more. Lovely. Okay, now, while that pan is preheating, I'm gonna go ahead and wash this. So, everybody please forgive me. I'm gonna need a second where I can't really look at chat as I wash up this rice. Okay? Everybody behave. I wanna hear a yes, chef. Please, if you've heard me loud and clear. Low, medium heat. You don't wanna really abuse these kinds of pans with too high of a heat. I'm gonna stir the beans once, just to make sure it's doing okay. It seems to be doing just fine. Okay, lovely. Yes, chef? Good. Glad to hear it. We're gonna wash this out until it's clear, and then I'm gonna show you how much liquid we've actually put into the rice. Because the most important thing to be able to avoid having mushy rice, my friends, is making sure you don't have too much liquid when it cooks. It will effectively absorb everything that you put in. And we're gonna make a fairly dry rice today. It's gonna be a fairly dry rice, and that is intentional. We want it to be dry so that it doesn't get too soggy when we add all the moisture in of the other stuff. And if I had chicken stock, I would cook the rice in chicken stock. Unfortunately, this time I do not. I'm washing it up good. Okay. Washing up my rice. I apologize everybody for not interacting with y'all. I could have taken chat on my phone, but I simply did not this time. Okay. So everybody, I'm gonna show you how much water this rice is gonna be getting. Are y'all ready? Dude, if I had a live cooking audience that all said yes, chef, that'd be so fucking funny. So, take a look. I want you all to understand just how little water this is. This is barely a few centimeters above, okay? I want the rice to be granular. The more water you add, the more it's actually going to soak all of it up and get really, really mushy. So to me, it's a very intentional and important choice for it to not be too wet here. This is barely, this is maybe a quarter of an inch above, something like that, in terms of water. Okay, back to the stove. This is gonna go over here. I'm gonna get a lid for it. And don't worry about the seasoning. We're going to over-season the vegetables and all the chorizo and stuff inside so that it's able to compensate for all the bland rice. God, if I had a live audience, that'd be the best. That'd be the best live audience anybody's ever seen. Okay. So, let's get the chorizo going. Let's get a spatula, or a spoon, rather. This is once again another, 3/4 pounds of chorizo or so. Close to a pound. And Here's your number one rule with cooking sausages, with cooking ground meat that you want to break up. Don't break all of it up immediately. We're just getting it into some bigger pieces. We'll break it up as we go. But if you break all of it up immediately, it's all going to cook so quickly. It's all going to cook so quickly that it won't be able to develop any color. When people, they add a ground meat to the pan, they immediately break it up and they take a tool and they break it up. It starts releasing and pissing out all of its liquid. You have to be patient with this process. Give it a little bit of a second. Maybe even give it a flip. You can even like stir things around and flip them, in fact, right? It's going to slightly stick. Don't worry about that. But you don't want to break all of it up immediately because you want it to develop color, my friends. It's all about browning. It's all about color. It's all about flavor. And my pot of beans is officially boiling away now. Beautiful. It's getting really thick. Make sure you're scraping up the bottom. Make sure you're scraping up the sides of it as well. The rice is going. And once again, everybody, the rule with rice. Bring it up to a boil, drop it down to a simmer, cook 15 minutes or 20 minutes. I'm going to take a second to put some things away. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. That's that. Perfect. I'm going to put the rice away now. The only thing that we're going to need is a little bit of the cayenne still. And the hot sauce. Oh, that's still going to come later. Okay. Jack asks, if we give an audio on Discord, can you put it on a soundboard? I don't know if I'll do a soundboard live on Twitch. On Discord, yes. But live on Twitch, I don't think it'll be good for me to do a soundboard. Could get annoying. Okay. Oh, actually, this is the wrong device. I've realized I'm now using both for both things. Oh well. So now, my friends, guess what? We've developed a little bit of color. We can officially start breaking this up a little bit. The goal is to get it quite broken up by the end. And we're going to evaporate any excess liquid. We want little pieces to evenly distribute through all the rice. Okay? Okay, let's leave it alone again. Let the sausage go, my friends. Let it go. You can always break it up later. Does coining the sausage have an effect besides having pieces of meat to chew on? Or does it also change the flavor / texture, asks Dara the Explorer. You get the texture and feeling of coins. And the only other thing is that I guess less of the sausage ends up getting rendered out into everything else. That would be my only guess at the moment. But really, to me, it's more of a textural thing, and the fact that I want to bite into thin coins. I want to bite into thin coins, and that's the only real significant implication, in my opinion. Because with enough cooking, the flavors are still just going to extract anyways, right? Okay, make sure you're scraping up the sides of the pot of beans, and it's slowly but surely thickening up. We want to reduce as much of that liquid as possible. It is the sauce for the beans, my friends. Don't waste it. Do not waste it. I hate when people drain and rinse their cans of beans. I really, really do. Okay, we got to continue breaking this up now. We want little teeny tiny pieces of chorizo. You know what I see people do? I see them take like a potato masher to it, which I guess isn't a bad idea, but I don't want to scratch this pan with metal tools. I don't like using metal tools on these nice pans. Get back in there. So just break it up, have fun, do the thing. Of course, it gets more difficult to break up the more it cooks, but it'll be okay. I promise. It'll all work out. Yeah, you know what? Maybe we do the potato masher thing. I've never done that. I've seen people do that before. Let's give it a try. I think I have one back here. Let's see how well this does, because I have a feeling it won't actually, yeah, it's not breaking it up into pieces once it's cooked down this much. All I've effectively done was squeeze it. It does nothing. It was a waste of my time. That was absolutely useless. I have to continue breaking it up with a spoon or something sharp. My friends, the rice is boiling. Drop the heat. Cook it for 20 minutes. Well, 18 minutes. 18 is usually my sweet spot. Scrape up the beans. Looking good. And now let's get back to this process. We gotta chop up the meat, my friends. We gotta chop it up. On a flat top, you could use like a nice metal tool for this. It would have been perfect. But alas, I think I let this go too long. Oh no, the pieces are a little too cooked. They're getting quite tough to break down now. There's a real tragedy. Yeah, I think so too. Alright, we made a mistake slightly. It's nothing that's horrible or anything. They're just pieces of meat are a little too big. So we have to be a little bit more firm now with chopping it and breaking all of it up. Or alternatively, we cook it now, we rest it, and then I chop this up on a board to get the size of pieces that I want with like a bench scraper. Because that's what you would sometimes see, right? Like people using like the edges of their spatulas. Oh, I'm sorry, Jack, that does suck. Listen, there will always be more dollar streams. Yeah, I am half considering just pulling this out, letting it cool, and then chopping it all back up. I've never done anything like that before, so let's just get a little bit more color. Before we do that, let's get some more fat out of it. Oh, I would not do that, Motorbike Dan. I would not do that. That would be a lot. I'll chop it up on a board. We'll see how it goes. Because the vegetables also have to go in this too, right? The vegetables have to do their thing. Okay. Ooh, the beans are boiling away. They're reducing nicely. They're getting nice and saucy. The vegetables are just melting down inside of them, flavoring the whole thing. All right, let's see the color on this now. That's looking really nice. All right. I am inclined to do the thing that I suggested. So let's do this. We're going to kill the heat for a second. I'm going to grab a plate. A fresh plate. Welcome on in, Matilda. Hope you're having a good day today. We're going to grab a fresh plate. And the idea I want to try is I want to try pulling off the sausage now. Cutting it up after it cools down a little bit. And then putting it back in. And I have a feeling it's going to go quite well. It's just that these pieces are way too big for me to make dirty rice with. In this case, the texture is pretty essential because I want these pieces to evenly distribute throughout all of the rice. And I think I just gave it a little bit too much time on that one side. Is all that happened here. Gave it too much time, not enough love, and this is what happens. But it's okay. We will make do. We will figure all of this out. Let's try to get as much of that meat out as possible. We'll leave the fat in the pan so that we can cook our beautiful vegetables. Okay? Get all of that out as much as possible. It is fully cooked at this point. Okay, and that should be enough fat for the veggies. Let's have this cool off. Thank you. All right, we're gonna turn on the heat. Jack, I'm glad that you were able to do so. We're gonna give the beans another stir, my friends. We don't want them to scorch on the bottom. Make sure you're scraping up the sides. I'm gonna keep repeating this as many times as it takes for all of you to understand how important of a step that actually is. We're getting that pan nice and hot again. We're gonna fry the vegetables, fry the garlic, fry the sage, and fry the cayenne pepper for the heat of it all, okay? And at the moment, the sausage is fully cooked. This chorizo does suck. It does suck. It's not the best chorizo, but we'll make it special. But still, even a shitty cooked chorizo can be really, really tasty like this. Ah, beautiful. What a nice pot of beans I have. It looks amazing. I'm gonna have a little taste of it, just to see what it's at in terms of seasoning and everything. Lovely. Okay, vegetables, time to add them in before the bottom of the pan gets too scorched. Add every last bit of this in. The charred bell pepper, the scallions, the celery, all of it going in now. And this needs to cook for a long time because by the time that we add the rice in, it should be fully stewed at this stage. It should be fully cooked, it should be softened, and ready to be incorporated into the rice. Scrape up any of the bits that are on the bottom that are burnt, and use the vegetables as moisture to do that. Okay. Get everything in there, my friends. Get everything incorporated. Medium heat. We want to starve out the liquid of the vegetables, and then we want to fry it in all of this lovely fat that we have. But we also don't want to scorch them. Okay? It's going to take a little bit of time. But that's why we're doing this. We're giving it time. We're giving it love. Okay. A bunch of salt and a bunch of pepper. Hello, Chloe. Ah. Kitchen's getting quite hot. And again, you want to over-season this because we have a pot of effectively bland rice that is going to be added in. And so you need the seasoning of all of this to compensate for that. Yep, beautiful. It's doing its job now. Leave it alone. Let it, all of the liquid cook out. Is that sausage still really hot? All right, I'm cooling it off, and once it's cooled off enough, we'll add it back in. Now that chorizo is like surprisingly lean. That is not like the moistest chorizo I've ever had in my life. Usually I think of chorizo and I'm like, oh, it's juicy and it's fat. This one, not, it's like fatty, but this one not so much. Okay. Mixing all of this stuff in, all those beans back in. It's looking excellent, my friends. We're gonna give the vegetables a stir, just to make sure it's all evenly cooking, and that it is. Excellent. And now, let's worry about the sausage part too. Okay? I'm going to set up another wet paper towel on my cutting surface. I refuse to have massive pieces of sausage in the rice. I want it distributed. I want it to flavor the whole thing. Okay? A lot going on. Lots to juggle, my friends. Much to consider. Nice medium-low heat. We're not trying to scorch it. We're going to build up color and flavor slowly but surely. Okay? Excellent. Looks amazing. Alright. Let's go ahead and go on over to the cutting board again. Let's see how effective this is. I think it's going to be effective. Everybody ready? So, cutting board. Next, let's add the sauce. I'm going to put a glove on. Make my life a little easier. So you see how big those pieces are? I don't want pieces that big. It's some sausage fat leaking out of there. That's okay. All of it's going to find its way back into the rice. Now, let's see. Am I going to be able to get these into little teeny tiny pieces? The answer is yes. It crumbles up quite nicely. When I'm doing it like this, let's give that a little rotation. Yeah, that'll do what I want for me. Great, that has confirmed it. Now, let's just go through this entire pile and thinly, thinly, thinly cut this up into little pieces and little crumbles. Fully cooked at this point. Now we just want to get the texture right. Yeah, that is, chorizo is just fine. Is what that is. Okay, I gotta give the vegetables a stir. I can hear it sizzling away. I think that heat is too high for it again. I don't want it to scorch. So we're just mixing it around, getting all of it distributed nicely, putting it back in. That's right. Always taste as you go. Give yourself little snacks. Even the questionable supermarket chorizo deserves a little taste test. It wasn't good chorizo. Also, thank you so much, T, for the raid. Really, really sweet of you. Hope you had a good stream. The rice is dirty. You're absolutely right. Welcome on in, everybody. Okay. Let's go through this. Let's chop it all up. Every time you guys raid, you just say Raid Shadow Legends. Okay, this is not a technique that I ever do because I think it's kind of sloppy, but that's called a rock chop, and I hate it. I hate doing that. I just want to process up all the chorizo right now. I want to make sure it's in tiny little pieces. Think of the pieces that you want in your rice. I want these broken up. Just like the one you miss, broken up. Sorry, that got a little too real. Okay. I think, for me, that should be good. Yeah, that should be good at this point. We'll do one more pass through. Great. Let's get it all out of here. Let's put it back onto the transfer plate. I'm going to give the vegetables a little stir. Make sure they're not burning again. Make sure they're not scorching. So just gently frying away, which is exactly what we want to see. Okay? I'm doing something very sloppy because I've already put my bench scraper away, which is using the back of my knife as a pseudo bench scraper. Okay. We did it, everybody. We processed the chorizo. We got it to the size of the pieces that we needed after all. Let's head back to the stove. Oh, the heat of everything is getting to me. And now we add that sausage back on in. We'll heat it back through. Perfect. And this is going to be the base of the dirty rice. Filled with fat, filled with these beautiful vegetables. Excellent. And now we're in the final stage of cooking everything, my friends. We've done most of the heavy lifting. We've done most of the hard work. The rice has about 8 minutes left on it. And in that time, the vegetables are going to finish cooking. I think the beans are going to be perfect as well, ready for consumption. I'm scraping up the bottom. I'm scraping up the sides as always. Right? Making sure everything here is just incorporated back on in. Ah, excellent. That is what I'm looking for. Perfect. It's picked up all the fat. It's going to distribute all the seasoning throughout the rice. We're going to make a really dirty rice, my friends. Woof. Getting quite sweaty in here. Once again, we're in the final stage. The beans are almost done. The rice is almost done. This is the, the vegetable base for it, of course. Okay. Scrape all of it up. Get it back in there. And the last steps are going to be to fry up the cayenne, the sage, and the garlic. Those are going to be the last components going into all this. Okay? Are we ready? I think we're ready. I think we're ready to go through that. Is everybody following? I want to hear the yes, chef. Please and thank you. Now. Okay. Excellent. Happy to hear it. So, it's garlic time. Garlic going in now. The vegetables are nice and soft. The chorizo is getting nice and crispy. And the seasoning, we gotta taste the seasoning. Not enough salt. We want this to be slightly too salty. Okay? Slightly too salty because the rice is unsalted. It has to compensate for it. I'm just giving my beans a nice stir in the process. But the beans are getting to the viscosity that I wanted. All right, the garlic is getting there. Excellent. And now, we're doing the sage going inside. We're doing about half a teaspoon of sage total. And then we're gonna do about half a teaspoon of cayenne. just for some really nice heat through the whole thing. A little less than half a teaspoon, maybe a quarter of a teaspoon. Okay, let's stir all of this in. Let's get those spices nicely fried up, but that's all the spices going into the dish. And then the last step is going to be the additional salting. We need it to compensate, okay? Another big sprinkle of salt. And this, my friends, is the base for the perfect dirty rice. Cayenne, the charred bell peppers, the trinity, the garlic, the celery, the onion. Beautiful. Sage now too. The beans are almost done. Everything is just going according to plan at this point. Woof. We're doing a lot here. We've been juggling a lot, we've been doing a lot. I'm proud of myself. I'm going to start just putting some dirty dishes away once again. Make sure that I'm keeping clean as I go to make my life easier when I have to clean it all. Okay, let's shut off the heat. We don't want the garlic to burn, and we don't want those spices to burn either. Okay? Guess what, everybody? The filling for the dirty rice is officially completed. That's it. It's all done, skis. That was every single last component that we needed for it. Nice and simple. And that is going to beautifully flavor the rice that we're about to put into it. I'm just getting some things out of here. I'm getting some things away. And the last step also for the beans, we're going to taste it for seasoning, and then we're going to hit it with a lot of flakes red hot because we want that acidity. We want the acidity. We want the spice that that's going to bring. We want the flavor that that's going to give. Nice. Gorgeous, in fact. Let's taste it. Has to be a little too salty. That's exactly it. A little too salty, but once that soaks into the rice, it'll be perfect. It'll be absolutely perfect. Speaking of which, the rice has about a minute left on it. The timer says 3 minutes on my thing, but I like 18 minutes usually for my rice. Oh, the beans look perfect, my friends. That looks gorgeous. Big pot of beans full of aromatics and soon to be hit with a lot of hot sauce. Excellent. Okay, guess what? I think we can pull the rice from the heat. I'm going to taste it really, really quickly. Let's taste that. You know what? I think it would benefit from 2 more minutes. 2 more minutes and it'll be perfect. Still a little too firm inside. I don't think it soaked everything up. Everybody, final questions before we do the finishing touches and plating. Last step is just adding the rice in and then seasoning up the beans. Final question before we have a little taste of everything all together. I'm not too hungry at the moment, so I'm not going to eat a lot. But now is the best time if you have anything you want to say to me. Man, those beans are excellent. That is so good. That is great. In fact, we could just do the beans now while the rice is finishing up. So let's get this off the heat. The beans have reduced enough for me. Okay, guys, never lift anything like that again. That was the worst form ever, and I almost broke my wrist doing so. Never do what I just did. Please use a towel under it or something. Last step, a bunch of hot sauce, a bunch of flakes. No, we're not doing the little, teeny tiny hole on it. We're gonna do this. Maybe we'll hit it with that, we're gonna hit it with some oil. And see, is that enough for us? Because we don't just want its heat, we want its acidity too. Okay? The acidity is the most essential part of this. It's what's gonna give balance to the beans. Stir it all in, get it all in there. That is good. That is excellent, in fact. I'm going to do another splash of hot sauce and then taste it. Another splash going on in. Excellent. Turn the rice off, and soon we're going to mix it on in. Let's taste that now. That's it. That is a perfect pot of beans. That is ideal. And you're getting the little bit of acidity from it. My lists are not weak, pink eggs, okay? I just had very bad form for a moment. Okay. I'm doing the stupid thing again just to transfer it over. Okay. Ouch, I did it. My friends, the rice can now be added on in. I might have made too much rice now that I'm looking at it like this, but it'll work out. Let's start with this amount and stir it in and see how that is after it's been mixed in. You don't want any clumps of rice that haven't been covered up in everything that we've just made here. And again, not traditionally use a basmati. Usually you do like on a Carolina gold rice or something. But spread it out nice and flat. We could definitely do some more rice. Could do about this much more. You want to mix this. And that's why we did so little water in the rice. Remember how little rice water we added to it? That's so that we get it this granular, so that it's this sturdy, that it holds up to all of this mixing. If it was any more water, it would have been so squishy that by the time that we mixed it all in, it could have turned into mush. Completely unseasoned. A total mess. So again, the rice is unsalted. The seasoning mix, everything here is a little over-salted. Because it's going to impart all of that salinity in here. And now let's give that a taste. So good. Spot on. Okay, a little bit more rice. Actually, this much more. And now that's going to be enough. Guys, this is hard work. There's a lot going on here. Not easy. Okay? Any bits of white rice, they need to soak up all of that fat. They absolutely have to. It is imperative. You want to hydrate all of it. You don't want to get any bland pockets of rice, my friends. There it is. That's what I'm talking about. Let's taste that. Perfect. Whew. Okay. I'm going to wash off my knife because I just chopped up more chorizo with it and I don't want it to rust. There's a carbon steel knife. You can't leave it wet for too long after all. And then we'll plate and eat. Ooh, buddy. We did a lot today. Okay. Everybody, you ready to plate? You ready to eat? I'm ready to eat. We're going to plate it in the meme way. That's what we're going to do. We're going to do the meme plating. You know what that is? We'll show you. Let's head over here. Let's get a nice little plate. And now, I want a small portion. I'm not too hungry at the moment. So this is purely for camera purposes. We're going to load up a cup with some of the rice that we just made. This beautiful dirty rice. Excellent stuff. Okay? here's what you do. You take it and then you flip it over, and then theoretically, it's gonna hold its shape, but this is very granular rice. It does separate quite a bit. Leftover rice, I mean, I usually reheat my leftover rice, Jack. And then I'm going to go ahead and get a nice big spoon of the red beans that I made, seasoned with that Frank's Red hot sauce now. Excellent. Nice big spoon of that, just going over the top, straight in. Huh, this might be my messiest plating I've ever done, but it doesn't matter. That is a mess that I've just made just now. Okay, everybody, that is it. Let's talk about everything that we just made just now. That is some dirty rice plating. It is indeed. Look, there ain't no way to make this beautiful. Look, I don't care. I could have made it beautiful. But the thing is, the granular rice just separates so easily. But let's talk about this, everybody. So, we did it. We made a lovely dirty rice. We did a lovely red beans as well. So, we started with the trinity, the most fundamental component that it could be in, Cajun cooking and Creole cooking. So it is essentially your onion, it is your celery, and then it is also your bell pepper. And the bell pepper, we did a little bit traditionally. We charred it. First we got it really nice and smoky, and then we chopped it up into everything. We had the red beans, we pressure cooked them. Okay, we got them really, really nice and tender all the way through. And then we sauteed this trinity that we made. We did it with a bunch of garlic. We cut some chorizo into coins. We added some sage. We poured in the beans. And then we added a bunch of Frank's Red hot sauce. And then for the dirty rice, we crumbled up the chorizo. We sauteed these aromatics. We added some garlic. We added a bunch of cayenne and sage as well. And added some fresh, beautifully cooked long grain rice to it. If anybody has any final questions, now is your time to ask it. Because after I take a couple of bites, we're going to raid somebody else. Let's have a little bite. That is so good. This is amazing. The rice just soaks up the bean liquid, the sauce. Everything is really spicy. The sage really comes through. Pink Echo asks, besides Frank's, what other hot sauce do I like? I love Frank's to death. Crystal is also pretty good. Can't go wrong with Crystal. Jack, I don't have an answer to that question. Okay. Lovely. I am going to do myself a favor and eat the rest of that off stream. Let's go ahead and see who is live. Everybody, reminder, there is no stream this Sunday. I'm taking a day off. I'm not going to be around for it. Taking a day off. Next stream is going to be Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Set it on your calendars. I'm going to take it off my Twitch calendar. Let's see who is live at the moment. Maybe we just go into food and drink again. Oof, it's hot. Thank you, thank you. Let's see who is live at the moment. Oh, we are. Holy shit, how many viewers do we have? Whoa, how's that even possible? Okay. Oh
shit.
Okay, I see somebody that we're about to rate, everybody. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I will see you all Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. I appreciate all of you. Hope you all have a really good rest of your Friday. Enjoy the weekends, or whenever you're actually watching this. And yeah, join the Discord if you haven't already done so. I appreciate all of you. Bye-bye.